Chapter 148. Ning Fan and Ji. He sat on the rattan chair under the grapevines, watching the moonlight side by side. Tomorrow, Ning Fan would leave, but he did not intend to take Jiha with him. Why didn't you bring me along? Is it because I am too weak to match you? He gently leaned her head on Ning Fan's shoulder. No, it's because I'm too weak. I'm afraid I can't protect you. Ning Fan blamed himself. Brother Fan, you are not weak. You are stronger than anyone I have ever met. Little Jiha's smooth little hand gently covered Ning Fan's mouth and comforted him. The two of them stopped talking and leaned their heads against each other again, watching the moonlight shine down. Jiha was not suitable to cultivate the Tao even if she had the best innate charm and cultivation speed that even Ning Fan was envious of. However, it didn't mean that one could survive in the cultivation world just by having talent. Many devil lords might not have good talent, but they relied on their cunning and ruthless nature to climb their way up. With Jiha's little innocence, she would be in danger even if she were to face a cultivator whose cultivation base was far lower than hers. She was not suited for cultivation. Even if her cultivation improved greatly one day and she broke through to become an immortal, she would still not be suited for it. Ning Fan could also bring Jiha along to temper her cold personality in the sea of blood. However, he was unwilling to do so. Ninggu was unwilling to kill, so he promised Ninggu a peaceful life. Even if Jiha didn't want to kill, he would still give Jiha a peaceful and joyous path of cultivation. Jiha wasn't wrong. The only thing that was wrong was the era. In the most distant ancient times, there were many refiners who said that the immortal world was peaceful and there were no killings or battles. Jiha should be living in that era, having an immortal companion and leaving behind an unparalleled story. Your country was just a low-grade cultivation country. It didn't even have a true nascent soul expert. Ning Fan aside, Jingzhuo was only half a nascent soul expert. But in the more powerful mid-rank cultivation countries, the number of nascent soul old monsters there is similar to the number of gold core old monsters in you. Although there aren't many, they aren't few either. There were even spirit-severing old monsters in high-grade cultivation countries. As for the destination of his trip, the Endless Sea, it was a place where even the cultivators of high-grade cultivation countries had to be cautious when they entered. People in the Endless Sea called it the Grave of Xiao. Grave of cultivators. The Rain Palace couldn't even intervene in the matter. There was no distinction between the righteous and the evil sects, only the strong and the weak. That place had its own rules of survival. If Ning Fan was alone and encountered danger, he could still escape. But if he brought Jiha along and something happened to her, then he would regret it for the rest of his life. Jiha was the first girl to walk into his heart. The bun and the jade locket saved his life, bringing him a different kind of life. Under the moonlight, Ning Fan slightly closed his eyes. The delicate fragrance of the paper crane lingered in his nose. The scenes of their reunion in the Joyful Union sect flashed before his eyes. Jiha was an ordinary girl. She yearned to be ordinary. She didn't like fighting and had a pure mind. She didn't have any special skills, but she was the one who understood Ning Fan the most among all the girls. She understood Ning Fan's gentleness and helplessness. She knew that Ning Fan was the same as her. They both disliked fighting. Ning Fan's bones had Jiha's peaceful life, but fate made him meet the old monster and forced him to walk on a path of evil cultivation that he couldn't turn back from. Half of Jiha's character and another half of the old monster's character were taken. That was the current Ning Fan. The brother Fan. Jiha widened her eyes and wanted to say something. When you come back from the Endless Sea, can you bring me a bell orchid? Jiha begged. Bell orchid? Doesn't your country have this kind of orchid? Ning Fan asked in surprise. It's not the same. I heard that when the wind blows, the orchid in the Endless Sea can produce a sound like a wind chime. It's very pleasant to listen to. When I hear that sound, I know that you are back. Jiha said something silly and fell asleep in Ning Fan's arms. As for Ning Fan, he silently remembered the silly wish of this silly girl. Bell orchid was an extremely ordinary plant in the Endless Sea. Jiha's wish was very simple, so simple that it made people feel pity for her. Jiha couldn't go to the Endless Sea because it was filled with endless dangers. That was the origin of the word endless. As for Ning City, It was Ning Fan's home. His home needed someone who was looking forward to his return. This trip to the endless sea might take 10 years, or even 100 years. This wait might be torturous, but this was the life of a cultivator. Even if they were Tao companions, when the husband was in seclusion, the wife might not be able to see her husband for dozens of years. Cultivators had their own helplessness. Even a true immortal couldn't be free and unfettered. A belle orchid, huh? I'll remember it. Outside 7 Apricot City, a splendid ship was about to set sail. Below the ship, old ancestor Jingjue and Ning Fan were bidding farewell to their relatives and friends as well as the cultivators of Yu country who came to see them off. Most of them were cultivators of Fire Cloud sect and Sinister Sparrow sect. There were also people from other sects who came to watch, but obviously, they weren't as enthusiastic as the two sections. Nangong, Situ Yuchi, the 4 families of 7 Apricot City, the 4 guards of Ning City. Sinister Sparrow, Xueqing, Nanwei, even Yen Zhuiyun who had a conflict with Ning Fan, Bai Fading and Yen Bai who had a grudge with Ning Fan. A few words of advice and conventional greetings were enough to bid farewell to these people. However, Ning Fan was reluctant to bid farewell to Lan Mei and the other girls. Ning Fan, take these immortal jades. I got them from my father. Lan Mei grudgingly stuffed a bulging storage pouch into Ning Fan's bosom. Ning Fan's spirit sense swept through the pouch and was astonished. 300,000 immortal jades. This was probably the entire wealth of Sinister Sparrow sect. He was afraid that Lan Mei must have dug deep into Sinister Sparrow sect to get these immortal jades. In the Lost World Tower of the Endless Sea, it's not an exaggeration to say that a day is worth 1,000 gold. When you're outside, don't be stingy with money. Lan Mei exhorted. She felt rather resentful that Ning Fan didn't bring her along, but she was still extremely worried about Ning Fan's safety. Of course, she was also slightly worried that Ning Fan, with his playboy temperament, might have other women outside. The marriage between Lan Mei and Ning Fan wasn't a secret to many cultivators of Yu country. The gift of sending off was 300,000 immortal jades. Even Jingjue and the other old ancestor figures were envious of Ning Fan's luck with women. They were afraid that it would be hard to find another virtuous wife who could give her husband 300,000 immortal jades with a wave of her hand. Bai Lu had also arrived, but she didn't go forward to talk to Ning Fan. She only watched Ning Fan leave from afar. When Ning Fan saw that insignificant figure in the crowd, he smiled at her. Immediately, Bai Lu's delicate eyebrows twitched. She turned her back and looked at her expression. Be careful on the way. Finally, she transmitted a message to Ning Fan. You too. Cultivate well. When I come back, you might have the chance to kill me. Ning Fan teased. Do you think I can't do it? Just you wait. When you come back, my cultivation base will certainly improve greatly and surprise you. Bai Lu said discontentedly. And I'll be waiting. After bidding farewell, Ning Fan and Jingjue received many gifts from the old ancestor and boarded the ship to the north. On the ship, there were even 20 delicate female servants given to Ning Fan by the body-seizing sect's old ancestor. In fact, they were originally given to Ning Fan as human cauldrons, but as the saying goes, a rabbit doesn't eat the grass near its nest. Even if Ning Fan lacked human cauldrons, he wouldn't harm these female cultivators of Yu country. Moreover, these female cultivators had good looks, but their cultivation base was only at level 4 or 5 of vein opening. Even if he plucked them, they wouldn't be of much use. It's better to just keep them as servants. Didn't you see that Lan Mei and the other female cultivators' faces turned a little ugly? Among the 20 female servants, Ning Fan recognized one familiar person at first glance, but he didn't expose her. These female servants were only responsible for serving tea on the ship. Ning Fan didn't ask them to share a bed with him, which made them secretly heave a sigh of relief. Apart from that, Ning Fan used some unknown method to summon Bing Ling, Yu Ling and a total of 17 female cultivators. Among these female cultivators, other than 2 gold core female cultivators, some of them volunteered to serve on Ning Fan's bed. As for whether Ning Fan accepted it or not, these female servants didn't know. After flying for a few days, the ship had already left Ning City and sailed towards the northern border of Yu country. At this moment, Ning Fan suddenly gathered all the female servants and said to one of them with a meaningful tone, "Suchio Xianzi left without saying goodbye that day. Suchio Xianzi left without saying goodbye that day. I thought I wouldn't be able to see you again in this life. I never thought that the dignified Suchio Xianzi would be introduced by the old ancestor and become a slave on my ship." The familiar person that Ning Fan recognized at first glance was Suchio Xianzi. She had actually sneaked onto the ship. After her identity was exposed, Suchio immediately removed her disguise and gave a light smile. "I've let revered Ning see a joke. I don't belong to any sect now, so I want to join a friend's sect in the Endless Sea, but all my immortal jades have been left to the Great Void sect. Now that I'm penniless, it's hard for me to reach the Endless Sea by myself, so I want to rely on revered Ning. But the dignified revered Ning isn't willing to let me go with you? No, I'm just a little flattered. Suchio Xianzi has boarded my pirate ship, so it won't be easy for you to leave," Ning Fan said with a smile. Pirate ship. After hearing Ning Fan's joke, Suchio couldn't help but burst into laughter despite her serious expression. Did someone in this world call himself a thief? But when she thought of Ning Fan's metaphor, which was rather ambiguous, it reminded her of the day when they detoxified the poison. Her heart trembled slightly and she immediately turned her head away. "I'm no longer the Great Void Sect's old ancestor, and I'm no longer Suchio Xianzi. From today onwards, you can just call me fellow Taoist Yin." Suchio sighed slightly as if something had stirred up in her heart. But this sigh was immediately swept away by Ning Fan's teasing. "How about Suchio? Not good. Alright, you win. Fellow Taoist Yin, since you've boarded my ship and asked me to bring you to the Endless Sea, then let's properly calculate the expenses for this journey." Ning Fan pretended to be serious. I have to collect money to board your ship." Suchio was somewhat at a loss. She had righteously left the immortal jades for her sect, so how could she have money to give to Ning Fan? "I heard that Suchio Xianzi's flute is extremely clear. Coupled with Xian Qi, it's enough to cleanse a cultivator's heart's devil. If Fairy Suchio has the heart to occasionally play a tune for me on the ship, then I'll forget about the expenses. You want to listen to me play the flute, of course, it's possible. It would be best if I could pay for the expenses with my flute." Suchio heaved a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Ning Fan would collect money from her. In Yu country, she had no relatives. When she was young, she had followed her master to the Endless Sea and met a female cultivator friend in the Endless Sea. That person's aptitude was extraordinary and not any weaker than Suchio's. She heard that she had already become the master of a sect. The fickleness of the Great Void sect made her unwilling to stay in Yu country anymore. Why not go to the Endless Sea? In comparison, although Ning Fan was a devil cultivator and his ruthless means made Suchio dislike him, he was more humane than the two senior brothers of the Great Void sect. The trip to the Endless Sea would cost a lot of immortal jades through the immemorial teleportation formation of Great Jin and the heaven-fleeing ship of Ing country. She was secretly grateful that Ning Fan would pay for it. The matter of playing the flute seemed insignificant. Suchio didn't know that the reason why Ning Fan proposed to collect money was to make her feel at ease. This woman was too stubborn. She would never accept someone's kindness for free. Otherwise, she wouldn't have purposely disguised herself as a maidservant and hid on the 7-apricot voyage ship. Playing the flute as compensation for the expenses of the ship would make her feel at ease because she didn't owe Ning Fan a favor. Ning Fan would have to spend more than 100,000 immortal jades to travel with this woman, but compared to the kindness she had given to Ning Fan, the immortal jades were insignificant. For Ning Fan, this woman had broken a magical treasure that resembled the water ring. Now that she was on the ship, Ning Fan was willing to refine another magical treasure for her as repayment. This woman is good at using magical treasures. In the memory of ancient chaos, there was a powerful immortal treasure called Heaven and Earth Ring. I can't refine this treasure, but if I can imitate it, I should be able to refine a magical treasure that is more advanced than the water ring and return it to her. Ning Fan murmured in his heart. Thus, on the 7-apricot voyage ship, other than Ning Fan and Jingzhua, Suchio joined the journey. As for the reason why Suchio joined them, Ning Fan told Jingzhua, but Jingzhua didn't believe him at all. The way he looked at Ning Fan was filled with a trace of admiration. What he admired was that Ning Fan was able to steal Suchio's heart. What a genius! Otherwise, why would Suchio choose to board Ning Fan's ship instead of others? This was a huge misunderstanding. Jingjue kept it in his heart and Ning Fan didn't explain it to him. The journey to the border of North Yu was peaceful. Other than the occasional cultivators who boarded the ship to send them off, everyone was living their own lives. Jingjue and Lady Yunhua were like a celestial couple, playing chess and gardening. As for Ning Fan and Suchio, they were cultivating separately. Every day, when the sun was about to set, Ning Fan would stand at the bow of the ship, bathing in the wind. Suchio was playing her flute behind him. The sound of her flute seemed to be able to purify Ning Fan's inner demons. Half a month later, the voyage ship finally arrived at the border of North Yu. After leaving Yu Country, they entered Song Country, which was located at the north of Yu Country. Although the movement of the 7 Apricot voyage ship wasn't small, it wasn't big either. After all, there weren't many cultivators on the ship, so there shouldn't be any hostility towards Song Country. However, as soon as the ship entered the border of Song Country, it immediately attracted the attention of a group of cultivators who were guarding the border of southern Song Country. There were even 3 late gold core old monsters who immediately rushed to the border to stop the 7 Apricot voyage ship after receiving the warning from the cultivators at the border. Who are you? Are you with the red flower old demon? The 3 late gold core old monsters seemed to be cultivators of the righteous path. When they felt the unusual evil chi of the 7 Apricot voyage ship, their eyes immediately showed hostility. One of them, an old man in hemp robe, was so angry that he almost attacked the ship directly. If the owner of this ship doesn't come to see me in 10 breaths, don't blame me for destroying this ship. The eyes of the old man in hemp robe were bloodshot with hatred. This matter made Ning Fan, Jingjue and Suchio extremely surprised. Song Country seemed to be in a special period. Otherwise, a mere voyage ship entering the country would never attract 3 late gold core old monsters who came from thousands of miles away. Fellow Taoists, please rest for a while. Don't show yourselves, lest these birds that are startled by the twang of a bow become even more fearful. Bingling Yuling, follow me to see what these 3 old men are up to. Ning Fan said with a smile and leisurely left the ship with Bingling and Yuling. I am the ship owner. May I know why the 3 Taoists of Song Country stopped my ship? I have nothing to do with the red flower old demon that all of you are talking about. Ning Fan was only at the harmonious spirit realm, but there were 2 gold core female guards behind him. Moreover, the 2 female guards seemed to be following Ning Fan's lead. This lineup made the 3 gold core old monsters of Song Country a little surprised. The owner of this ship is only a harmonious spirit junior. But what is the background of this junior? He actually has 2 gold core female guards as his concubines. Chapter 149. Generally speaking, only gold core old monsters could afford to use a flying magical treasure like a ship. Moreover, the entire body of this 7 Apricot voyage ship was made of jade, the bones of the ship were made of rainbow steel, and the sails were made of cloud thread. The grade of this magical treasure had almost reached mid-high grade. Its flying speed was comparable to that of an intermediate gold core cultivator. The formation patterns engraved on the ship left the 3 gold core realm experts speechless. There's no mistake. There's actually a nascent level low-grade defensive formation on the ship. Moreover, the 12 spiritual artillery cannons seemed to have been modified. A single spiritual artillery cannon was already a high-grade, low-grade magical treasure. Each of the cannons' firepower was enough to threaten the life of an early gold core realm expert. This ship had been modified by Ning Fan before he left Yu Country. In the battle between MOU and MOU, Ning Fan had seized a total of 10 ships. The rare immortal ores in those ships were all smelted into the 7 Apricot voyage ship by Ning Fan, which made the 7 Apricot voyage ship very powerful. Even a peak gold core old ancestor's ship was not as powerful as Ning Fan's ship. Everyone would believe that the owner of such a powerful ship was a nascent soul old monster, but the owner of the ship was a mere harmonious spirit cultivator. A harmonious spirit cultivator with such a powerful ship and 2 gold core female cultivators as his concubines must have a powerful background. Among the 3 of them, the old man in sackcloth hesitated slightly. He patted his demon-collecting pouch and released a bunch of green flies. They circled around the ship 3 times. It was said that the green flies would never forget the smell of the insects. They could even penetrate the concealing formation to search for hidden cultivators. The old man in sackcloth seemed to be looking for someone. Seeing that the green flies didn't respond, the 3 gold core experts looked at each other and shook their heads. However, the vigilance and hatred in their eyes were reduced by a lot. They whispered to each other, "Not here. This person should have nothing to do with the red flower old demon. Then let him go. This person might have a powerful background." The green flies can sense that there are 2 extremely concealed chi in the ship, which actually escaped our senses. It's not a nascent soul cultivator, otherwise, the green flies wouldn't be able to sense it. It's most likely an old ancestor-level expert. Although this person is only a harmonious spirit cultivator, we can't offend him. Ning Fan did not disturb them. Instead, he brought Bing Ling and Yu Ling to the bow of the ship and enjoyed the scenery of Song Country. Yu Country had a lot of water while Song Country had a lot of mountains. As far as the eye could see, there were only secluded green mountains. However, the spiritual energy in each of the mountains was slightly higher than that of Yu. Although the country of Song was a low-ranked cultivation country, the same as Yu, the amount of spiritual energy here was slightly lower than Yu's. Also, it had fewer experts than Yu's. "Good mountain," Ning Fan praised. "The spiritual energy here is so thin, and it's even worse than my Yu country. How can it be considered a good mountain?" Moon Spirit immediately refuted. "The mountain isn't high, the water isn't deep. A mountain with dense spiritual chi might not be a good mountain, and a person with a high cultivation base might not be a good person. Young master is wise." An extraordinary splendor flickered within Bing Ling's eyes as a sliver of understanding faintly appeared in her heart. Moon Spirit, on the other hand, also revealed a slightly pondering expression. However, her comprehension ability was still a little inferior to Bing Ling's. It was likely that she would need a few days before she could understand that sliver of understanding. Ning Fan was trying to enlighten the 2 girls by commenting on the mountains and rivers. The 2 girls' cultivation to Gold Core realm was accelerated by pills. They lacked tempering and comprehension. Perhaps it was not their turn to be tempered by bloody battles, but it was always good for them to have more comprehension. Since they were willing to be his maidservant for the rest of their lives, it was only natural for them to increase their knowledge. What he didn't know was that his simple words had caused the 5 old monsters present to gain something from it. Jingzhuo was secretly surprised by Ning Fan's words, while Suqiu was slightly surprised. Her impression of Ning Fan had improved a little. While Ning Fan was enlightening the 2 girls, the 3 gold core experts of Song Country had also finished their discussion. After listening to Ning Fan's words, they were shocked by the depth of Ning Fan's Dao enlightenment. At least, with their hundreds of years of Dao enlightenment, they would never be able to say such clear words. Originally, they were prepared to let Ning Fan pass. Now they valued Ning Fan even more. As for the old man in linen robe who threatened to destroy the ship, his expression turned solemn and he cupped his fists towards Ning Fan. "I apologize for offending you before. I'm Song Jun, a rogue cultivator. These 2 Taoist friends beside me, the one in green robe is Sect Master Lu of Eternal Spring Sect, and the one in monk robe is Abbot Tianming of Wukong Temple. May I know your name, little friend? Are you a cultivator of Yu country?" Song Jun was a rogue cultivator. Without the help of his sect, he had reached the late Gold Core realm and was about to reach the Peak realm. His aptitude was extraordinary. He was arrogant and had a fiery temper. Not to mention harmonious spirit cultivators, even ordinary Gold Core cultivators weren't qualified to call him a friend. But now, Song Jun was being so courteous to a harmonious spirit realm cultivator. This made Sect Master Lu and Abbot Tianming, who were standing at the side, secretly surprised. Apart from the owner of the ship, there wasn't another harmonious spirit cultivator in Song Country who could make the dignified Song Jun cupped his fists. I'm Ning Fan, a cultivator of Sinister Sparrow sect of Yu Country. I'm just passing by Song Country and will leave Song Country in a few days. I don't have any enmity towards the cultivators of Song Country. You can rest assured. So you're a friend of Sinister Sparrow sect of Yu Country. Sorry for my rudeness. Your surname is Ning? Could it be that you're the descendant of Black Devil Ning? Yes. Black Devil Ning is my ancestor. Ning Fan lied with a strange expression. When they heard that Ning Fan was the descendant of Black Devil Ning, Song Jun and the others changed their expression and became respectful. Fourth Revolution Dan Master, Black Devil Ning. Even in Song Country, there were some rumors about him. There were also old monsters in Song Country who desired to form their nascent souls, but there wasn't any Fourth Revolution Dan Master in Song Country. If there was no other choice, the old monsters of Song Country would have to be thick-skinned and go to Yu Country to ask for a pill. No wonder a harmonious spirit cultivator like Ning Fan had such a powerful ship and gold core female cultivators to serve him. It turned out that his old ancestor was a Fourth Revolution Dan Master. Only a Fourth Revolution Dan Master would have the wealth to bestow such a precious gift to his descendant. Song Jun and the others looked at Ning Fan with envious eyes. It was hard to believe that a late gold core old monster would be envious of a harmonious spirit junior, but it had indeed happened. If they also had a Fourth Revolution Dan Master as an elder, they might even have a chance to form their nascent soul in this lifetime. However, if they knew that the Black Devil Ning that they were willing to serve as their elder was actually Ning Fan, how shocked would they be? If it wasn't because of the task of searching for the old monster, they would be more than happy to have a cup of tea with Ning Fan and build a good relationship with him. Sigh, since fellow Ning has something to do in Jing Country, we won't disturb you any longer. This token is my token. If fellow Ning holds it, the cultivators of Song Country won't stop you along the way. Song Jun pondered for a moment, then took out a jade token and tossed it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan received the token and returned the gesture. He didn't reject the token. With this token, no one would stop his ship from traveling in Song Country, which would save him a lot of trouble. Ning Fan changed his mind and asked, "May I ask fellow Song, what is the background of that red flower old monster? How could a late gold core cultivator be so afraid of her? Of course, if this is a secret, it's not convenient for me to talk about it. Fellow Song can pretend that I didn't ask." Ning Fan's question made the three old monsters' faces look strange. As for Song Jun, he was even angrier. Of course, he wasn't angry at Ning Fan, but because he remembered the hatred of the red flower old monster. After a while, Song Jun calmed down and showed an apologetic look to Ning Fan. "I'm sorry. It's because of the irreconcilable enmity between me and the red flower old monster. That's why I lost my composure. It's not a secret, but it's not a glorious thing to tell others and it will damage our reputation. But since fellow Ning has asked, I can tell you about it, so that fellow Ning can pay attention to it before you go to Jing Country." Song Jun heaved a long sigh and continued. "I won't hide it from fellow Ning. That red flower old monster is a rapist. His demonic technique is extraordinarily powerful. In just a month, he has abducted countless female cultivators of Song Country and absorbed their primordial yin. This demon is extremely shameless. These few fellow Taoists and I have wives, daughters, and juniors who have been captured by this demon. Now, we don't know if they're still chaste. Naturally, we're burning with anxiety. I can't wait to catch this demon and tear him into pieces. However, this demon's concealing technique is extraordinary. His speed is also very fast. 10 days ago, this old man and a dozen late gold core and peak Taoists surrounded this demon. Although we managed to injure him severely, he managed to escape, killing 3 late gold core fellow Taoists and injuring 4 others. This demon is very powerful. Fellow Ning's ship isn't weak, but don't be careless and give this demon an opportunity. After all, fellow Ning has brought beauties into Song Country. It's very likely that you've attracted the attention of this demon." As soon as Song Jun finished speaking, he gritted his teeth. The eyes of the other 2 old monsters were also filled with anger. All of them had wives and daughters that were captured by this demon. Now, it was highly possible that they had lost their chastity. How could they not be angry? Ning Fan was secretly surprised that such a demon actually appeared in Song Country. If that was the case, he would have to be more careful on the way. Ning Fan wasn't arrogant enough to think that he was invincible under the heavens. That red flower old monster was able to break free from the encirclement of a dozen old monsters. It was worth his vigilance. I wonder what's the cultivation base of this demon? Ning Fan's eyes slightly narrowed. This demon should be a half-step nascent soul demon. Of course, it could also be a nascent soul old demon that was injured and his cultivation base had fallen. Song Jun's eyes flickered. He felt that Ning Fan seemed to be interested in this demon. If he could rope Ning Fan in and capture this demon together, it would be a great help to him. Ning Fan's cultivation base might not be strong, but there were 2 old ancestor-level experts hidden in the ship. If these 2 old ancestors could join in the hunt, the chance of capturing this demon would increase by a lot. I have a presumptuous request. I wonder if fellow Taoist Ning is willing to stay in Song Country and help us capture this demon. Of course, since fellow Taoist Ning is willing to help us, we will definitely reward you handsomely. As soon as Song Jun said this, the other 2 old monsters revealed an expectant look. Even Jingjua, who was in the ship, was tempted. He was also an old ancestor of the righteous path. He had always abhorred evil. If he could kill this demon in Song Country, it would be a great help to his mental state. After all, slaying demons and devils was one of the ways for righteous cultivators to improve their mental state. As for Suchio, she immediately transmitted her voice to Ning Fan as if she was going to take charge of everything. Why don't we stay in Song Country and help them? Suchio was famous for being a busybody. Otherwise, why would she go to Ning City to help the people in danger when they were under attack from the 2 great devil sects? However, whether it was Song Jun's request or Suchio's, none of them could move Ning Fan's heart. He didn't have much time. Naturally, he didn't want to stay in Song Country and cause trouble for himself. Since that demon dared to kidnap the female cultivators in Song Country, it naturally meant that he was fearless. Although Ning Fan was powerful, he wasn't 100% sure that he could kill this demon. He could only shake his head and reject Song Jun's request. I'm sorry. I have an important matter to attend to in Song Country. I dare not delay it. Although I want to help, I'm afraid I'm unable to do so. I see. It's my fault for asking such a rude request. I won't disturb fellow Taoist Ning any longer. Farewell. Song Jun and the other 2 old monsters sighed slightly, but there was nothing they could do. It was human nature to ignore the matter if it didn't concern them. Moreover, this was the cultivation world where one wrong step could lead to the death of one's entire clan. To be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that their wives and daughters were killed, Song Jun and the other 2 old monsters wouldn't have risked their lives to hunt this demon even though they knew how powerful he was. Since Ning Fan wasn't willing to help, they naturally wouldn't force him. It was already a good thing that they could form a good relationship with Ning Fan and have a slight connection with Black Devil Ning. The 3 old monsters clasped their fists and left in a hurry. They were heading to other places to search for the old demon. After the 3 of them left, Ning Fan's eyes flickered slightly. He returned to the ship with Bing Ling and Yu Ling. In the cabin, Suchio's elegant eyebrows furrowed. She was extremely dissatisfied with Ning Fan's indifferent behavior. That red flower old demon is wreaking havoc here. Why didn't you help them? You're so selfish. Selfish? Who asked me to be a devil cultivator? Don't forget that I'm cultivating a dual cultivation technique. The number of women I plucked might not be less than that red flower old demon. Selfish? If the people I love can live a peaceful and happy life, then what's the harm of being despicable, selfish, and shameless? What's more, I'm telling the truth. I don't have time to waste here. Ning Fan closed his eyes and smiled bitterly. Are you so short of time? Suchio revealed a disappointed look and turned back to her room. She knew that Ning Fan's choice was right and prudent, but she secretly hoped that Ning Fan could be as selfless and self-sacrificing as her. Why did she blame Ning Fan? Why did she get used to others being selfish and indifferent, but she was disappointed when Ning Fan was selfish? Was selfishness really wrong? Was selflessness really right? Why didn't she help the experts of Song Country alone after Ning Fan rejected her? Why did she still stay on the 7-apricot voyage ship? Could it be that she had been infected with a trace of selfishness unknowingly? If it was her in the past, even if she was alone, she would still dare to risk her life. In the 600 years of cultivation, she had experienced pain, tears, and tiredness. But she had never felt at a loss like today. Ning Fan was selfish. If she was in danger, would he save her like he promised? Or would he just watch coldly from the side? Suchio's fingers were deeply embedded into her flesh. So this was the reason why she felt uneasy. She didn't understand. Her heart was in a mess. Speaking of which, why does he need time so urgently to improve his strength? A 19-year-old half-step gold core expert. This cultivation speed is comparable to the heaven's chosen figures of Rain Immortal World. Moreover, his combat strength is enough to kill a nascent soul expert. Is his strength still not enough? I have never asked him why he went to the Endless Sea. It seems like he really needs time. Should I go and ask him? But now that we just had a quarrel, it's not the right time to talk to him. Suchio hesitated for a long time. Finally, she held the jade flute, pushed the door open and walked towards the bow of the ship. The sky was dark and the sun was about to set. Ning Fan's clothes fluttered under the setting sun and the heavenly wind, but he felt a little lonely. He seemed to be lost in thought. When Suchio approached him, he sensed it and his shoulders immediately trembled. It was like a wild beast in the deep forest that was startled by the wind. What a strong sense of vigilance! It was an instinct, a state of mind that was cultivated in a dangerous environment. Suchio couldn't help but feel curious. What kind of experience in life did Ning Fan have to have such a strong vigilance towards anything other than himself? He was a mystery. Suchio realized that after 600 years of cultivation, this was the first time in her life that she had the desire to pry into a person's heart. Are you going to play the flute for me? I thought you wouldn't come. Ning Fan didn't turn around. His words were filled with a smile, but Suchio somehow felt that his laughter was a little fake. Let's stop playing today. Can I ask you a question? Suchio suddenly felt perturbed. That feeling was like the first time she killed someone with a sword and the fear of seeing blood. Huh. Ning Fan was slightly surprised. He thought that Suchio came to reprimand him again. Why do you need time? Why do you feel so insecure? But this is a good question. When I was at the Li Hen Mountain, the Heaven Separation Sect, and the Cold Moon Mountain, listening to the sound of the rain, I thought about this question for a long time. But in the end, I don't know why I have to be like this. Why I cultivate recklessly. But in the end, I understand. Ning Fan kept his smile and his expression was calm. If you have been living a hard life since you were young and you have a younger brother that you need to protect, perhaps you will also feel nervous and afraid. You will immediately pull your younger brother and run away when there is any sign of trouble. If you have an enemy that even the dignified divine emperor of Rain World can't fight against, and that enemy will kill your master after 100 years, you will also increase your strength at all costs. If you are used to being misunderstood, perhaps you will also become cold. If you are used to seeing cold eyes, perhaps you will also become vicious. If you are humiliated by hundreds of people, perhaps you will also sink into the devil Dao. If you have something that you have to protect, perhaps you will also become selfish. I am very afraid of the battle between the Devil Dao and Yu Qi. If I die in the hands of the Black Corpse, Ning City will certainly be bathed in blood and Jihe will die. Now, I finally understand the feelings of my master when he went to the Sword World. Do you know that the most difficult time for me to form my core isn't to break through the bottleneck, but to sever my emotions? Do you know that my heart's devil is my wife? I can't bear to sever it. I can't bear to. I can't bear to. When Cece left, I could easily take her down and refine her into a spirit puppet. But I can't bear to. I can't bear to. Fellow Taoistine, have you ever felt fear in your life? Have you ever felt reluctant to kill? Have you ever felt reluctant to be selfish? But when you can't turn back, if your Tao goes against the person you love the most, how will you choose? This kind of struggle, how will you choose? It's difficult. But you have to understand that I'm not afraid of that old demon. If he dares to touch the person I cherish, he will die. At this moment, Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. He looked towards a mountain peak 1,000 li away to the west and sent out his spirit sense. Over there was an extremely ordinary red camellia. Suddenly, traces of blood appeared on the surface of the ordinary red camellia. Strange black blood flowed out from the wounds. Surprisingly, the red camellia let out a human-like voice. It was soft like a woman, but it was filled with endless killing intent. How can a mere harmonious spirit cultivator's spirit sense be so strong? It's almost as strong as mine. Early nascent soul spirit sense. Humph, but this person seems to have brought a lot of supreme grade cauldrons, 2 early gold core and 1 peak gold core. It seems delicious. The camellia shook its body and turned into a woman in red. Her face was extremely ugly. From the blood pouch on her waist, the sound of a woman crying could be heard from time to time. The red flower old demon was actually a woman. And her cultivation base was early nascent soul. Tsuchiyo didn't know any of this. She didn't know that she had been targeted by the old demon the moment she entered Song Country. She was immersed in a complicated feeling, savoring the helplessness in Ning Fan's words. She couldn't imagine what kind of childhood could make Ning Fan feel so insecure. She also couldn't imagine that the revered Ning of Yu Country had been humiliated by hundreds of women. What she couldn't imagine the most was that Ning Fan had an enemy who was a void fragmentation old monster who would kill his master after 100 years. Tsuchiyo's heart trembled. She suddenly felt that it was a mistake to say that Ning Fan was selfish. It was like a knife piercing Ning Fan's heart. However, Ning Fan still smiled faintly. He didn't tell Tsuchiyo that the red flower old demon was spying on them. Smiling was an expression that had nothing to do with one's mood. Play the flute for me. I want to listen to the minor heavy mountain today. Last night, the howling of the cold pheasant woke me up from my dream of 1,000 miles away. It was already midnight. He got up and walked alone along the stairs. The moon was dim outside the curtain. White hair for scholarly honor. Old mountain pine and bamboo, blocking the return journey. I want to play the zither with my worries. Few bosom friends, broken string, who will listen. This was Ning Fan's first time telling his worries to someone, because he felt that he was very similar to Tsuchiyo in some aspects. Some words didn't need to be explained. Some feelings she could understand. Chapter 150. Evil cultivators spent their entire lives building and breaking the shackles. Mystic cultivators spent their entire lives strengthening the shackles. But in reality, people didn't need to live that tiring. They just needed to stick to their own Tao. The spiritual chi in Song Country wasn't as good as Yu Country, but it was twice as big as Yu Country. According to Ning Fan's estimation, it would take at least 3 months to reach the northern boundary of Song Country and enter Zheng Country. In these 3 months, the cultivators of Song Country had inspected the ship 41 times. But every time, Ning Fan would ask Bingling to show the jade token to the cultivators. Because of that, no one dared to make things difficult for the ship. In these 3 months, the red flower old demon had ambushed the 7 apricot old ship 3 times. The old demon was very careful. It always used spirit sense attacks and demonic arts to ambush the ship. Demonic arts were different from magical arts. It was a special kind of art that could only be used with demon veins. What provided the energy wasn't magical power but mental power. Demonic cultivation was divided into body cultivation and technique cultivation. Body cultivators usually maintained their beast form. Even if they broke through to the gold core realm, they might not be able to transform into a human and retain their beast form because the body of a demonic beast was obviously stronger than a human body. On the other hand, technique cultivators usually cultivated the inherited racial demonic arts from the bloodline memory. Although this kind of spirit sense magical art was cast with mental power, its effect wasn't much different from ordinary magical arts. However, some special demonic arts could attach themselves to the body and attack the sea of consciousness, which was extremely troublesome to deal with. However, orthodox demonic cultivation was extremely rare in the Rain Immortal world. The origin of the red flower old demon seemed to be questionable. During the first ambush, the old demon was 500 li away from the ship. He used dozens of core realm demonic arts to attack the ship as if he was probing. However, the result was that his attack was easily blocked by the nascent level lower-grade defensive formation of the ship. During the second ambush, the old demon was 800 li away from the ship. He was more cautious and used 7 nascent realm low-grade demonic arts to finally break a hole in the formation. But immediately, a starlight sword shadow flew out from Ning Fan's glabella. It stood on the old demon's demonic sense and burned all the demonic arts into nothingness. This greatly surprised the old monster. He secretly thought that this harmonious spirit junior actually had the soul-burning sword. Therefore, during the third sneak attack, the old demon was 1,100 li away. Ning Fan's spirit sense couldn't sense the old demon's spirit sense at this place. In the end, the old demon's spirit sense was still stronger than Ning Fan's. This time, the old demon did not hold back at all. He used some kind of nascent realm middle-grade spell called Demon Starfall. It borrowed the power of starlight and integrated it into the spell. Its power was quite extraordinary, and it was the old demon's trump card. In just a few breaths of time, this technique broke through the formation light of the ship. However, Ning Fan's eyes immediately turned cold. 3 times? You have already touched my bottom line. If there is a 4th time, you will regret it. A faint black spirit sense swept out from the top of Ning Fan's head like ink-colored sword shadows, breaking the demon star technique. Demonic technique was known for being strange and difficult to defend against. However, its power was not as strong as a low-grade magical technique. With a sweep of his sword sense, the spirit sense in the demonic star technique was easily crushed. The tactic collapsed on its own. This is sword sense. Not good. Sword sense is the natural enemy of demonic technique. How could such a junior have sword sense? Moreover, his sword sense is very unusual. What is that sword chi? It actually made me, a dignified nascent soul realm demon, feel deeply afraid. At this point, Red Flower Old Demon's fear of the 7 apricot voyage ship deepened. She reckoned that the success rate of attacking the ship and snatching the 3 girls was less than 50%. Feeling helpless, she stopped pursuing the ship. Ning Fan, on the other hand, revealed a slight look of pity. This nascent soul realm demon was actually a female demon. He had no interest in asking why the female demon tormented women. However, it would be a wonderful thing if he could capture this female demon as his cauldron. Unfortunately, this female demon was very cautious. Her spirit sense and teleportation speed were both faster than Ning Fan. She did not approach the ship and only used her demonic technique to sneak attack and probe from afar. After knowing that she had no confidence of winning, she immediately gave up. Ning Fan would not be able to capture a female demon like her unless she came to him on her own accord. If Ning Fan couldn't catch her, it was even more impossible for those Gold Core realm cultivators of Song Country to catch her. What caught Ning Fan's attention the most was that there was a demonic blood-red rune on the female demon's glabella. It seemed to be the script of the demon race. Within the rune, there was a trace of blood-red divine intent. That divine intent contained an almost tyrannical killing intent. That blood-red divine intent did not belong to the female demon. It should be a powerful spirit-severing realm demon cultivator who planted the rune on the female demon's glabella. This rune was somewhat similar to the mental seal. It was a method used by the ancient demon race to control their slaves. This rune also had another function. That was to activate a magical attack when the slave was in danger. Perhaps the magical spell on the female demon's glabella was the life-saving technique of the old demon. Ning Fan did not have full confidence of defending against that magical spell. Therefore, he gradually put down the thought of capturing the female demon and making her his cauldron. As for the ugly appearance of the female demon, Ning Fan automatically ignored it. Master said that everything will be the same even if the light is extinguished. Ning Fan said something extremely indecent with an extremely serious expression. Since the female demon had given up on attacking the ship, Ning Fan did not have the ability to capture her. Therefore, the ship was temporarily peaceful. For the past 3 months, Ning Fan had been cultivating day and night. He would only listen to Suchio's flute at dusk. The sound of the flute could calm the heart's devil. It was very beneficial to him. After the last time, Suchio no longer asked about Ning Fan's personal matters. She also did not reprimand Ning Fan anymore. However, she seemed to have something on her mind. She became serious again. Ning Fan was cultivating the colossal bone secret arts. If he could successfully cultivate this technique, he would be able to transform into a 10-zhang tall giant with the first realm of the silver bone. He might even be able to fight against an early nascent soul realm cultivator. His magical power had reached a bottleneck. He dared not cultivate it anymore unless he reached the core formation realm. Therefore, he could only cultivate his body. The first realm of the colossal bone secret arts was called vein burning. It required the spiritual herbs specified in the manual to be made into a medicinal liquid. Under the control of magical power, the liquid would circulate in the immortal veins. The spiritual herbs specified in the manual were all rich in fire spirit. Ning Fan happened to have all of them. After the fusion, the liquid would be like magma, bubbling and boiling. The medicinal power was dense and terrifying. The moment this medicine entered the throat, it felt like it was on fire. When it entered the immortal veins, it felt like it was going to burn the immortal veins. However, the colossal bone secret arts required this kind of burning pain. This kind of pain was unbearable for ordinary people. The Black Corpse had refined Tian Ez into a corpse refiner before he could cultivate this technique. The pain of this technique was comparable to the third Jade Royal Pill. However, Ning Fan frowned and did not make a sound. For a whole month, he did not make a sound even though his robe was drenched in sweat from the pain. He had endured the pain of the Jade Royal Pill. He could also endure the pain of the colossal bone secret arts burning his immortal veins. What made Ning Fan feel pity was that if the pain was twice as painful, he could take the fourth Jade Royal Pill to relieve the pain and increase his body refining realm. It would be better if it was a little more painful. He frowned and endured the pain while sighing. If these words were heard by the sects that cultivated the colossal bone secret arts, they would definitely vomit blood. Which cultivator of the colossal bone secret arts didn't consume a lot of numbing spiritual herbs to block the pain? Ning Fan was the first one to do so. After a month, Ning Fan completed the vein burning technique. He broke through the 9 realms of the first level and officially entered the first realm of the second level. This realm was enough for him to grow his body to 3 zhang tall. But this was not enough. The second level of the cultivation technique was called bone forging. This step required the cultivator to convert the magical power in his body into flames and burn his bones. Gold core cultivators could condense their gold core and turn their magical power into Dan fire to forge their bones. Harmonious spirit cultivators could turn their magical power into fire if they were fire vein cultivators. Other than that, other cultivators could only devour the spiritual fire from the outside world and absorb it into their body to slowly burn their bones to achieve the goal of cultivation. It could be said that the more intense the burning, the faster the cultivation would be. Ordinary cultivators would need a year to several years to advance a realm. Gold core cultivators and fire spirit cultivators would need at least half a year. But Ning Fan possessed the black demon flame. His speed of burning his bones was 10 times faster than gold core cultivators. After all, there was no other gold core cultivator in this world who could obtain an earth vein demonic flame to temper his bones. The pain of the black demon flame was more painful than the vein burning technique, but it was not enough to help him consume the Jade Royal Dan. This made Ning Fan feel pity again. He endured the pain and began to cultivate the second level of the cultivation technique. 2 months later, he had reached the peak of the 9th realm of the second level of the colossal bone secret arts. He could transform into a 9-zhang giant. Once he broke through the 3rd level, he could transform into a 10-zhang giant. However, the breakthrough of the 3rd level and the subsequent cultivation would require the assistance of a special pill. The 3rd revolution pill was called Burning Blood Pill. It wasn't difficult to concoct this pill, but Ning Fan's lacked something like this. There were only 3 levels in the colossal bone secret arts. If he could obtain the Burning Blood Pill and concoct the pill, he could completely cultivate this cultivation technique and become a 100-zhang giant. A 100-zhang giant was just like the terrifying giant that Bone Emperor had when he annihilated the Hu clan. The 100 giant was just a drop in the ocean of Bone Emperor's fiend god body refining technique, but it seemed to be the limit of the colossal bone's secret arts. An ordinary body refining technique was still not enough for his immemorial devil vein. If there was a chance, he would need to obtain the body refining technique of the immemorial fiend god. Only then would he be able to reach the level of void fragmentation old monsters. After dispersing the giant image, Ning Fan kept the colossal bone's secret arts. He flipped his hand and took out another cultivation technique, Sword Finger. Although this technique was incomplete, it should be more powerful than Bone Emperor's white bone giant body. After all, this technique was left behind by the sword ancestor. The sword chi left by that woman in the scabbard was enough to block Moksha Emperor's 1,000 giant finger. That woman used an ordinary long sword to slay all the fiend gods. If I break my sword, there will be no martial arts in the world. She was an arrogant woman, but also very powerful. If Ning Fan could successfully cultivate the sword finger, he would certainly be able to grasp a powerful trump card. However, the requirement for cultivating the sword finger was too harsh. It required 1,000 li of earth vein and spirit vein to cultivate the first finger. Once the finger was successfully cultivated, the 1,000 li of spirit vein would be destroyed. Only nascent soul sects in intermediate cultivation countries would have that kind of earth vein. The earth vein and spirit vein were the foundation of the nascent soul sects. It was what all the disciples of the sects relied on for cultivation. It was impossible for Ning Fan to devour it. As such, he could only wait until he encountered a powerful spirit vein and act according to the situation. 3 months had passed. The trip to Song Country seemed to have come to an end. The ship stopped at the border of Song Country. One more step and they would leave Song Country for Zheng Country. However, Suqiu requested to disembark from the ship at this moment. I'm sorry. I still can't stand by and do nothing. I have my own Dao. But I know that you are not wrong because you have your own Dao. Our Dao is different. Why don't we work together? Suqiu gave Ning Fan a fairy-like smile for the last time and returned to Song Country. Ning Fan sighed with emotion, but he wasn't too surprised. If this woman could stand by and do nothing, then she wouldn't be her. She was a troublesome woman, but worthy of respect. Revered Ning, what should we do now? It's not appropriate to leave Suqiu Xianzi alone. Jingzhuo was hesitant. He knew that Ning Fan needed time and didn't want to waste it in Song Country. However, it's not appropriate to leave Suqiu in danger alone. It's not appropriate. She's right. I have my own Dao. If I watch her die, my Dao will shatter and my heart will die. Fellow Daoist Jingzhuo, you don't have to show up this time. Just stay here and protect the girls on the ship. Don't let Red Flower old demons sneak attack them. I'll be back soon. It shouldn't take too long. Killing intent flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. He had promised Suqiu that he would protect her. He couldn't stand by and do nothing. The reason why he cultivated the colossal bone secret arts was to put it to good use when Suqiu was alone. If the old demon was a man, Ning Fan could use the colossal bone secret arts to mediate and save Suqiu. Chapter 151. For the past 3 days, Ning Fan had been following behind her until she met up with the Song Country's righteous Dao. Only then did he leave temporarily to do something else. On the 7th day, Suqiu and the others found a trace of the old demon, but it had run away. They only found a dozen female corpses, all of which had been stripped of their virginity and sucked dry of their primordial yin. On the 19th day, Suqiu and the others intercepted the female demon who was plucking the female energy in a valley. However, after a battle, one of the gold core old monsters was killed and 2 of them were severely injured. What the female demon left behind were piles of female corpses. The severely injured old monsters had to withdraw from the search, while a few gold core old monsters lost their courage to pursue the female demon after losing their wives and daughters. Although they were filled with hatred, they still carried their wives' and daughters' corpses and left secretly. After a month, there were only 7 people left, including Suqiu, who were still pursuing the banshee. Suqiu pursed her lips. This time, her efforts were in vain and she was almost caught by the female demon. The number of experts on their side was decreasing while the female demon's cultivation base was stabilizing towards the early nascent soul realm through plucking. For some unknown reason, the female demon's cultivation base was greatly damaged, so she needed to pluck women to recover her magical power. As she recovered her nascent soul realm cultivation base, even Song Jun and the others began to hesitate whether they should continue to pursue the demon or not. What should we do? In Eternal Spring Sect Master Lu looked at the group of old monsters helplessly. Since the female has recovered her nascent soul realm cultivation base, we don't have the strength to hunt her anymore. On the contrary, if she counterattacks, we will definitely die. In my opinion, capturing and killing the demon isn't our priority. The key is how to prevent the revenge of her daughter, said an old monster fearfully. That's right. In my opinion, we should drop the matter of chasing after this demon. Let's return to the sect quickly and strengthen the defense. Abbot Tianming sighed. Everyone nodded in agreement except for Suqiu. No way. Are you going to watch your wives and daughters die in the hands of this demon and not save them? Suqiu Shenzi, please don't be angry. We also want to save our wives and daughters, but this female has already reached the nascent soul realm. We are no match for her. Who in Song Country can fight against a nascent soul expert? Abbot Tianming said helplessly. So what if he's a nascent soul realm expert? If he takes action? Suqiu thought of Ning Fan, but she immediately gritted her teeth and revealed a bitter expression. She had risked her life to capture the female demon for a month, but Ning Fan didn't come to help her. His last glimmer of hope had been shattered. He wouldn't come. Suqiu fell into silence halfway through her words. One of the old monsters who had the intention of withdrawing immediately said furiously, Suqiu Xianzi, I'm very grateful that you've come to help my fellow Taoists in Song Country. However, the nascent soul realm old demon has already gained enough power. Obviously, we're no match for him. We can only wait for him to eat his fill and leave Song Country as soon as possible. I heard that Zheng Country is also troubled by a demon. Perhaps he won't make things difficult for us after he's satisfied and will leave Song Country on his own. The old monster's eyes revealed a trace of lingering fear. I'm full. You said full. What do you take women for? Cauldrons? Is this food for the demoness? Suqiu slammed the table angrily. That's right. That's what I'm thinking. If I can protect Song Country, I'm willing to collect 10,000 virgin girls in Song Country and give them to the demon. Perhaps he'll be satisfied and leave. The old monster said ruthlessly. Suqiu gritted her teeth and her beautiful eyes were filled with anger. Under the might of the old monster, some of the righteous old monsters had already revealed their true nature. What made her even more disappointed was that there were actually 2 or 3 people who nodded in approval of the old monster's suggestion. They seemed to be quite moved. If they could sacrifice the lives of 10,000 virgin girls, they might be able to please the demoness. If the demoness was happy, she might even release their wives and daughters. Old Man Wang's suggestion is not bad. Why don't we discuss it? Humph. A bunch of sanctimonious cowards. Suqiu didn't even look at the group of old monsters. She tiptoed and left Eternal Spring Sect. As for the gifts from the old monsters, she didn't even take a single cent disappointment. She left Eternal Spring Sect with disappointment. After leaving, she felt helpless for the first time in 600 years. Yu Country, homeless. Song Country, with no one to rely on. The endless sea was so far away. She was alone and penniless. How could she go there? Even if she went there, would her childhood friends still recognize her? She took out a small jade bottle from her bosom and held it in her palm. It contained the bitter pill, also known as sugar pill, which was given to her by Ji. She swallowed 1 pill and immediately recovered the magical power that she had lost in the past few days. The pill was sweet, but her heart was bitter. Ning Fan, someone saw the 7 apricot voyage ship waiting at the border of Song Country. Is he waiting for me? Should I go back? How can I go back with my face? Is my Tao laughable? Is it really laughable to insist on the righteous Tao? She walked among the clouds in a daze. Her mind was in a mess. She just wanted to insist on the righteous Tao, but there was no true righteous Tao in this world. If there was no righteous Tao to uphold, how could she claim to be righteous? At this moment, her whole body was full of flaws. At this moment, a faint red demonic wind suddenly rolled her body into the demonic wind. Immediately, Suchio's eyes turned cold. She knew that she was ambushed when her mind was in a mess. In the demonic wind, a trace of chaotic magical power was immediately transmitted into Suchio's body, causing her magical power to be sealed. Immediately after, a female demon's complacent voice was heard from the demonic wind. "You're right. Pumph. You have been chasing after me for a month. You must be very pleased with yourself. Now, it's my turn to take revenge. Why didn't your little lover come to help you?" The demonic wind rolled and Suchio, whose magical power was sealed, was carried by the demonic wind towards a deep valley in the western region of Song country. After listening to the words of the female demon, Suchio was embarrassed at first, then her expression turned gloomy. "Shut up. I have nothing to do with him." "Nothing to do with him? I really want to know if your little lover will be angry when I tear your clothes and hang you on a tree to humiliate you. As for you, the so-called righteous Tao of the human race, shouldn't you be dignified and aloof? If I humiliate you like this, perhaps you will feel worse than death. You! How dare you?" Suchio rebuked angrily. "Pumph. Why wouldn't I dare? Little sister, I have lived for hundreds of thousands of years. What I love the most is to humiliate those aloof girls. The more arrogant you are, the more I want to make you lower your head. Hundreds of thousands of years? How is that possible? You are merely a nascent soul demon. How could you live for so long? Could it be that you are an ancient demon that is in deep slumber in the demon spirit land of the upper realm? No, if an ancient demon wants to wake up, it needs to be at least a spirit-severing demon general. I know, you are the companion of a spirit-severing demon general. Is that so? Pumph. You don't need to know. In short, I am in a good mood now. Let me play with you first." The female demon was secretly surprised by Suchio's quick-wittedness. This seemingly stubborn woman actually had such a clear mind. However, why did such an intelligent woman dare to capture her for a whole month even though she knew that she was no match for the female demon? It really puzzled the female demon. A few hours later, the female demon descended and appeared in the Blood Flower Valley of Western Song country. This valley used to be the location of a weak sect, but it had been secretly massacred by the female demon. Now, the valley was in ruins. Only a secret realm in the deep valley was still intact. Amidst bursts of light, the female demon carried Suchio's soft body and entered the valley. Suchio was embarrassed and angry when the female demon touched her sensitive spot, even though she was also a woman. When Suchio saw the chaotic and miserable situation in the valley, her pretty face immediately changed. In the deepest part of the valley, among the beautiful mountains and rivers, there were countless naked girls crying. Without exception, all of them were female cultivators. The lowest cultivation base was at Harmonious Spirit Realm while the highest was a Gold Core Realm Old Monster. However, at this moment, all of these female cultivators had their magical powers sealed by some kind of technique. Their bodies were weak and they couldn't exert any strength at all. They were no different from mortal women who had fallen into the devil's hands. Most of these girls had lost their chastity. Suchio began to fear. Would her fate be the same as these girls? The female demon revealed her true appearance. Her face was extremely ugly. Deep and shallow ravines intertwined on her face. There were knife scars, sword wounds, and even fire marks on her face. Although her face was ugly, her waist was as slender as a snake. Her skin was smooth and elastic as if it could drip dew. She looked like the stamens of the camellia amidst the morning dew. Her figure was pure and flawless. After removing her hairpin, her long hair cascaded down like a waterfall. Her breasts were tall and straight, giving Suchio a perfect view of her back. As long as she did not turn her head, her appearance might be slightly better than Suchio's. This made Suchio slightly doubtful. If this girl regained her original appearance, how beautiful would she be? But as soon as this thought arose, it was extinguished by her. Now was not the time to indulge in flights of fancy. The female demon took off her clothes. Her eyes were filled with excitement. She used her demonic technique to conjure tools, which were used in the underworld. She sneered as she walked towards the girls and plucked them. After that, the female demon collected all the blood and clear spring water of the girls into a pill bottle and stored it carefully. This girl's performance is not bad. The blood of a harmonious spirit cultivator's primordial een will definitely improve her cultivation a lot after consuming it in the future. There were many jade bottles like this in the female demon's storage pouch. The female demon turned around and looked at Tsuchiyo with her ugly eyes. "Alright, it's your turn." Needless to say, the female demon was going to pluck Tsuchiyo. Looking at the female demon who was approaching her step by step, Tsuchiyo's mind was in chaos. Any woman would be afraid of this kind of thing. Tsuchiyo's eyes were filled with despair as her clothes were torn apart by the female demon. She suddenly missed that young man. Although he was selfish and cold, she could not forget him. She closed her eyes in despair. At this moment, the array light outside the secluded valley suddenly shook violently. The ground began to shake violently. From afar, a 99 feet tall silver-armored giant was walking towards them step by step. Under his footsteps, whether it was the rocks or the earth, everything was flattened by his feet. The pressure of the giant made even the nascent soul realm female demon feel a trace of danger. "Break!" The silver-armored giant threw out a punch and a series of sonic booms were produced. The dignified high-grade Dan realm formation light was shattered by the giant's punch. The giant's indifferent voice was like thunder, reverberating in the valley over and over again. "I've said it before, there won't be a fourth time." Chapter 152. The female demon discovered that the giant's aura was rather familiar to her. There's no mistaking it. He's the harmonious spirit cultivator on the ship. I didn't expect him to be a body refinement expert. Moreover, his body refinement technique even made me feel a trace of danger. No, it wasn't just a sense of danger. This giant gave the demoness a very strange feeling, as if it was her natural enemy. Because she was a woman, the array light was broken, and the booming sound was getting closer and closer. At the entrance of the valley, a silver-armored giant blocked the entrance. As soon as the giant entered the valley was immediately filled with the ear-piercing sound of thunder. Countless birds and beasts in the valley simultaneously crouched on the ground, their hair standing on end as they shivered. The moment the eyes of the female demon and the giant met, the giant's hands suddenly reached out and the thunder star between his eyebrows flashed. Immediately, dark clouds appeared in the clear sky and thunder roared as bolts of silver lightning struck down. A feeling of being locked on by the thunderbolts immediately appeared in the female demon's heart. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of thunderbolts approached the female demon. She did not hesitate to put down Tsuchiyo and took out a small shield to block the thunderbolts. However, her heart was extremely aghast. It was a lightning god art. The giant's methods were far beyond the demoness' expectations, causing her to be extremely fearful. Occasionally, some cultivators could use lightning divine arts, but even cultivators with lightning veins couldn't summon so many lightning bolts with a wave of their hands. This wasn't a spell, but an innate ability to control lightning. It was an innate divine ability that could only be mastered by the ancient fiend gods who were once the rulers of heaven and earth. In just a single exchange, the lightning summoned by the giant's hand had caused cracks to appear on the upper medium-grade shield. This caused the demoness to furrow her brows. She was the companion demon of a demon general. Her cultivation had been sealed in the demon spirit land and she had been asleep for hundreds of thousands of years. Her cultivation had been sealed and she had lost all her treasures. Now that the demon general had awakened, she only had the cultivation of the early nascent soul realm, but she didn't have any magic treasures. Even this small shield was snatched from the Song Nation's golden core cultivators. He was not at his peak, otherwise, he would be a nascent soul cultivator. How could he be chased by a few Song Nation golden core cultivators? However, the giant in front of him was a harmonious spirit man. His true strength could only be described as terrifying. Even if he was at his peak, he might not be a match for this giant. Moreover, his cultivation had not recovered yet. Almost immediately, the banshee became even more determined. If she could avoid fighting the giant, she would never fight the giant before her. She immediately teleported out of the valley. As for the female cultivators she had captured in the valley, she abandoned them all. Although it was a pity, compared to unknown dangers, the demoness preferred to seek stability. However, the female demon teleported. Before she could even leave the valley, she was shocked and furious to find that the entire valley was enveloped by rays of purple light. This purple light was a nascent realm middle-grade Grand Array that was imitated from the purple light sect protecting Grand Array. For a moment, the female demon was unable to escape from the valley. From the looks of it, this giant had already made preparations in order to capture him. This giant was not only here to save people, he was here to have a life-and-death battle with her. Unable to leave? Then let's fight. The ugly face of the female demon flashed a trace of darkness and an arrogant battle intent. She said fiercely, "This human friend, if you blame me for attacking your concubine, I can apologize for it. If you insist on being my enemy, the demon general behind me will not stand idly by." The giant snorted and grabbed with his big hand again. Countless thunderbolts struck down, completely shattering the small shield in front of the female demon. This caused the female demon to dodge awkwardly, her eyes filled with killing intent. Without a doubt, this giant was Ning Fan. In the past month, after secretly protecting Suqiu and meeting with the Song Nation's righteous Dao, he went to do some other things, one of which was to find the lair of the female demon and secretly set up a nascent realm middle-grade Grand Array, Purple Light Array, while the female demon was away. At the same time, he used the remaining time to refine a magical treasure. This matter was put aside for now. With the help of the first star on his glabella, Thunder Star, Ning Fan controlled the thunderbolts with both hands, causing the nascent soul female demon to dodge awkwardly. The thunderbolts of the heaven and earth were extremely strange. Once the female demon was locked on, she couldn't avoid the thunderbolts even if she teleported. The helpless female demon could only resist the thunderbolts head-on. Taking this opportunity, Ning Fan returned to his human form and landed on the ground. He glanced at the half-naked Suqiu and immediately shifted his gaze away. He patted his storage pouch and took out a robe of his and threw it to Suqiu. After a slight hesitation, he passed a crystal bracelet to Suqiu. After putting on this robe, hold this bracelet and go outside the formation. Once you see the female demon leaving the formation, use this bracelet to hit her. Suqiu felt her pretty face was boiling hot. She felt ashamed and shy. She felt ashamed because of the day when she left the 7 Apricot Voyage ship and parted ways with Ning Fan, and ended up in such a situation. If it wasn't for Ning Fan's help, she would have fallen into the clutches of the female demon. As for shyness, it was naturally because her clothes were completely torn by the female demon. Now, there was only a lonely bra on her snow-white body. It was slightly damaged and slightly exposed her perky bosom. As for the lower part of her body, it was completely naked. Suqiu had to use one hand to cover her body and the other hand to take the clothes and the crystal bracelet. The clothes were worn by Ning Fan. When she thought of wearing Ning Fan's clothes, Suqiu blushed again. However, she had no other choice due to the urgency of the situation. As for the crystal bracelet, Suqiu was secretly shocked when she sensed the peak high-grade qi from it. This exquisite and small bracelet turned out to be a powerful magical treasure. This magical treasure seemed to be a ring treasure. It could turn into a crystal bracelet according to Suqiu's will. It was just like the water bracelet that she destroyed that day. However, the difference was that this bracelet was faintly emitting a supreme grade qi. It seemed to be not far from the supreme grade. What surprised Suqiu even more were the other two abilities in this bracelet. Firstly, it was a kind of divine intent. It was like a drizzle that carried a special charm. Secondly, it was a trace of heaven and earth might. If this heaven and earth might was activated, even though this bracelet was only a peak high-grade magical treasure, it would be able to fight against a supreme-grade magical treasure. This is... She put on her clothes and held the crystal bracelet in her hand. It seemed like she wanted to know more about it. This is what I owe you. Ning Fan once again grabbed with one hand. The lightning star on his glabella moved and attracted countless lightning to entangle the female demon. After pondering for a while, he kept the unconscious female cultivators into his cauldron ring. Heavenly dwelling magical treasure? Also, why did he take away these women? In Suchio was secretly surprised by Ning Fan's means. However, Ning Fan frowned and said firmly, "Quickly go out of the valley and guard this formation." The third time he used the lightning star to control the lightning, the power was not as strong as when he transformed into a giant. Therefore, the female demon only needed to entangle him for a while before she could break free from the lightning. It seemed like the power of the lightning in his glabella was closely related to the body refining technique. Knowing the severity of the situation, In Suchio could only listen to Ning Fan's order even though she was full of questions. She left the valley and went to guard the grand formation outside the valley. Once the female demon escapes, she would immediately attack her. This bracelet gave In Suchio an inexplicable confidence. As long as this bracelet was in her hand, even a nascent soul realm female demon would be injured by her if she was careless. Suchio left the valley, leaving only Ning Fan and the female demon. If she didn't use her trump card, it would be hard for her to escape from the purple light formation. Moreover, Ning Fan's lightning was too difficult to deal with. After getting rid of the lightning for the third time, the female demon was really angry even though she was afraid of Ning Fan. "Human, do you really want to fight to the death with me? I've said it before. If you understand me, the demon general will never forgive you. I'm one of the 12 demon companions of the demon general. You talk too much nonsense." Ning Fan was also quite afraid of the demon general that the female demon mentioned. Rumor has it that only powerful demons above the spirit-severing realm could be conferred the title of demon general in ancient times. If he was not mistaken, the demon general that the female demon mentioned was most likely a spirit-severing old monster or the one who planted the rune on the female demon's glabella. However, since he had become enemies with the female demon, Ning Fan would never let her go. In Yu country, he might restrain himself a little. But outside of Yu country, this female demon was an excellent cauldron. Now that she had delivered herself to his doorstep, there was no reason for him to reject her. As for the demon general, Ning Fan believed that as long as he could capture this female alive and imprison her, no matter how powerful the demon general was, he wouldn't know that there was a Ning Fan in this world who had captured his companion demon. Dragon Vortex Fire. His eyes turned cold. The black demon flame in his hand immediately turned into a spiraling dragon fire. In an instant, the female demon's expression changed drastically with disbelief. But soon after, the fear and dread in her eyes were replaced by a kind of joy and greed. Earth Vein Demonic Flame. You actually have the Earth Vein Demonic Flame. And this flame is a dragon-shaped demonic flame, Black Demon Flame. This is the demonic flame that Lord Liban has set for me. I heard that this flame had appeared in Yu country before. I didn't expect that I would be able to obtain this flame before I even entered Yu country. With this flame, Lord Liban might be able to transform from a carp to a dragon and his cultivation base would increase tremendously. Therefore, she had to obtain this flame no matter what, even if Ning Fan might be extremely powerful. "Human, you asked for it. Demonic art, flying petals and leaves." The female demon performed a hand seal in midair. Immediately, her spirit sense was wrapped in a layer of pink and turned into camellia petals that fluttered in the air. This was a nascent realm low-grade demonic art. This time, the female demon used it on Ning Fan from a very close distance. She believed that Ning Fan wouldn't be able to withstand her demonic art easily, even if he had the soul-burning sword and sword sense. Chapter 153. The reason why he was able to break the demonic technique of the female demon so easily on the ship was because she was hiding too far away, so the power of the technique was naturally weakened. But this time, it was difficult for Ning Fan to withstand such a close-distance attack. Especially when the blood-red rune on her glabella flashed, a special intent realm fused into the petals, causing each petal to be dyed with a special divine intent. The veins on the petals began to condense into red scales. A desolate demonic power swept across the valley. As the female demon's eyes turned cold, millions of petals fell at the same time. The entire valley began to crumble when the petals touched it. This was the might of a nascent soul realm expert. The petals gave Ning Fan a sense of difficulty, especially the divine intent on the petals. It made Ning Fan more certain that the rune on the female demon's glabella was planted by a spirit-severing cultivator. However, that divine intent was fundamentally different from a cultivator's divine intent. Ning Fan did not have the time to think about it. He flicked his fingers and 9 traces of black dragon flames spread above his head, turning into 9 layers of black sea of flames. Each layer of the sea of flames was spinning violently like a whirlpool. In just a few moments, all 9 layers of the sea of flames had completed the 4th revolution. The 4th revolution and 9 flames were his limit. If he used the 5th revolution, his magical power would be depleted. If he used the 6th revolution, he could only forcefully use it when he was severely injured. The last time he used the 6th revolution of the dragon flame, the result was that he had yet to replenish his lost blood essence. The power of the 9 layers of the Sea of Fire and the 9 whirlpools was almost the same as the power of a single 5th revolution of the dragon flame. This was the trick that Ning Fan thought of to increase the power of the dragon flame. Of course, the prerequisite for this was to have an extremely strong spirit sense to control the 9 flames at the same time. Ning Fan was able to do it since he had the spirit sense of an early nascent soul realm cultivator. The petals and the dragon flame, one red and one black, one still and one moving, caused the entire heaven and earth to be filled with vast magical power. There were even strange phenomena appearing between heaven and earth. Even Suchio, who was outside the purple light formation, was startled by the scene of the battle. She was secretly amazed by the strength of the female demon and couldn't help but worry about Ning Fan's safety. As for the entire Song country, including Song Jun, all the cultivators above the intermediate Gold Core realm could clearly feel the vast waves coming from the direction of the Bloodflower Valley. Their expressions changed drastically. A battle at the nascent soul level. Only a battle between nascent soul cultivators would cause a drastic change in the world. One of them was most likely the female monster, and the other one was a nascent soul cultivator from another country. A nascent soul realm cultivator from another nation came to the Song nation to slay demons and defend justice? Could it be someone from the Rain Palace? The old monsters immediately became spirited and gave up on the idea of offering virgin girls as tribute. If they could get rid of the demoness without hurting anyone, they were naturally willing to watch from the sidelines. They all turned into rays of light and headed straight for the Bloodflower Valley of the Western Song dynasty. However, the Song nation was too vast. Even if everyone flew at full speed, the nearest old monster would still need half a day to reach them. As for places further away, it would take at least 10 days to half a month to reach them. However, each of the old monsters was rubbing their palms together. If there was a chance to kill the demoness, they would never compromise with her. This kind of wavering attitude was their Tao. They had their own Tao. In Suchio had her own Tao. Ning Fan had his own Tao. After the flying petals collided with the Sea of Fire, Ning Fan's expression suddenly turned cold. He controlled the fire with one hand and punched with the other. Immediately, the 10th layer of the Sea of Fire condensed into an ice sea above the 9-layered Sea of Fire. The area around the demoness, who was caught off guard, was frozen. When the power of the fist came down, the sound of ice breaking could be heard. The demoness, who was in the middle of the fist, immediately turned pale and spat out black blood. She couldn't believe it. Due to the sudden sneak attack, the flying petals lost control and were immediately destroyed by the Sea of Fire. This human still has the strength to use a nascent realm body refining technique after using such a powerful magical technique. His right finger pointed at the dragon fire and his left fist smashed the ice. The ice smash technique was naturally the nascent realm body refining technique that he obtained from the battle between MOU and MOU. It could be considered as Ning Fan's only official physical attack technique. It wasn't easy for Ning Fan to control the 9 flames and use the 10th punch. However, the effect was immediate. Just one punch was enough to injure the demoness. However, the power of the dragon fire was not much after defeating the flying petal's demonic technique. The sea of fire was already illusory. Before the sea of fire dissipated, the heaven and earth origin chi around Ning Fan moved and a black light flashed. He used the teleportation technique and passed through the sea of fire. He appeared in the air behind the demoness. Without giving her a chance to breathe, he slammed his palm down. Go down. The demoness didn't expect that Ning Fan, a mere harmonious spirit cultivator, could master the teleportation technique. Her injuries immediately worsened when the palm landed on her delicate body. She spat out a few mouthfuls of black blood and fell from the sky. She crashed into the deep valley, creating a huge pit of 100 zhang in diameter. She struggled to get up. For the first time, her eyes revealed fear when she looked at Ning Fan. He's not a harmonious spirit cultivator. He must be a nascent soul cultivator. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to use the teleportation technique. Without a nascent soul, one couldn't comprehend the heaven and earth origin chi. One couldn't use the heaven and earth origin chi to perform teleportation. She had underestimated Ning Fan. This Ning Fan wasn't just a nascent soul old monster. He might even be an intermediate nascent soul old monster. Otherwise, why couldn't she see through his disguise? Intermediate nascent soul cultivation base, silver bone body refining art, nascent soul realm body refining art, colossal bones secret art, nascent soul realm attack art, shattering ice. Moreover, this kid had the sword consciousness and sword sense that only the sword emperor of the sword world could condense. What was this kid's background? She didn't know. She couldn't guess it. But there was one thing that she was sure of. She was no match for Ning Fan with her own means. As such, it seemed like the only way to escape from this valley was to use the trump card left behind by the demon general. The demoness pressed her jade-like fingers on her glabella, as if she wanted to activate the power of the talisman. But immediately, she was horrified to find that she couldn't use her magical power. A trace of evil and charming finger force had entered her body without her knowing, causing her to be unable to use any of her demonic power. Not only was her magical power locked, even her delicate body began to feel weak and powerless. The demoness' face turned pale. How could she not know that Ning Fan had used the bewitching technique on her? She herself was proficient in the bewitching technique. With this technique, she plucked female cultivators and bewitched them. With her current realm, even a mid-grade nascent realm bewitching technique couldn't easily bewitch her. But she couldn't tell how Ning Fan used the bewitching technique on her. There was only one reason for this. The bewitching technique that Ning Fan used was far beyond her understanding. Yin plucking finger. This finger was a secret technique recorded in the yin-yang transformation of the ancient Chaos Great Emperor. There weren't many secret techniques in the yin-yang transformation, but each of them was extremely lethal to women. Moreover, each of these magical techniques would increase in power as the level of the cultivation technique increased. In the past, Ning Fan was just a harmonious spirit cultivator and didn't have much understanding of the yin-yang transformation. Even so, he was able to make the nascent soul demoness of the Lanrua Temple, Yun Rui, suffer greatly with a sneak attack from his finger. Now, his magical power had increased tremendously, his cultivation technique had improved, and his means had become stronger. When he hit the demoness with his palm, he had secretly infused the yin plucking finger into his palm. Otherwise, that palm wouldn't have been a casual slap, but a fatal blow. He didn't want to kill the demoness. As a nascent soul cultivator, it would be a waste not to capture her as a cauldron. The second level of the yin-yang transformation would most likely depend on this demoness. After being hit by the yin plucking finger, the demoness' knees went soft and she fell to the ground. Her ugly face was filled with shame and anger. How dare you use the bewitching technique on me? You're despicable. Fine, I admit defeat. Come down and release my finger force. I'll agree to any of your conditions. The demoness seemed to have given in, but Ning Fan still didn't reply. He only sneered. What are you laughing at? The demoness was angry, but she suppressed her anger. She couldn't use her magical power because of the yin plucking finger, But she still had a trump card, the rune on her glabella. She originally pretended to give in and tried to trick Ning Fan to land on the ground and approach her. If that was the case, she would activate the power of the rune to kill him. However, she didn't expect that Ning Fan didn't reply to her and kept sneering, as if he had seen through her thoughts. "Aren't you going to release the demonic intent on your glabella? Such a sharp demonic intent can be dyed with blood. It doesn't seem to be an ordinary, ungraded demonic intent. Is it a 9th grade demonic intent?" The demoness was shocked for the first time after hearing Ning Fan's words. Demonic intent. This term had been lost in the ancient times. Apart from her, no one else would know about it. How did this puny cultivator in front of her know about it? Moreover, Ning Fan could tell that the blood-red rune on her glabella was a 9th grade demonic intent. Cultivators had divine intent, sword cultivators had sword intent, and demon cultivators had demonic intent. Divine intent had different grades, and so did demonic intent. The inherited divine intent was usually ungraded. It could barely allow a cultivator to break through to the spirit-severing realm, but the cultivator couldn't use divine abilities through the ungraded divine intent. 9th grade demonic intent, the carp demonic intent. This was the demonic intent condensed by the demon general who was the companion of the demoness. This blood-red rune was the method that the demon general used to control the demoness. It was also a life-saving divine ability that he gave to the demoness. The demoness could borrow the power of this rune to strengthen her magical techniques. She could also use it to unleash a spirit-severing strike. Once the spirit-severing strike was unleashed, even Ning Fan would die. "You want to sneak an attack on me? Unfortunately, I can see through your means with a glance. You haven't seen how powerful my means are. If you can't force out the power of this plucking finger, its power will become more and more terrifying. You have lost. From today onwards, you will be my cauldron. As for the blood-red rune on your glabella, the spirit-severing strike within it will become my trump card. Go." Ning Fan continued to invade the demoness' mind with his words. In the end, he shouted in a deep voice and used all his strength to draw out the plucking finger. The demoness was shocked when Ning Fan exposed her demonic intent. Her mind was immediately invaded by the plucking finger. In the end, she even lost the strength to activate the rune on her glabella. Damn it. Damn it. Shameless human. You are just a lowly being. How dare you try to make me your cauldron? In the endless humiliation, the demoness fell to the ground, but Ning Fan still hadn't landed. His eyes became more and more solemn. The blood-red rune on her glabella started to operate on its own without any activation. A cold blood-red light was emitted from the blood-red runes. Immediately, it transformed into the shadow of a red-haired man with blood-red scales all over his body. He grabbed the female demon and fled out of the purple light array. "Human, you have severely injured my 12 companion demons. I will settle this score with you in the future." "Humph. You won't have the chance. Why should I be afraid of a mere shadow of demonic intent? Your shadow is formed by your 9th grade demonic intent. Magical techniques might not be able to harm it, but I also have spirit intent." Ning Fan's eyes flickered. Suddenly, dark clouds appeared out of nowhere in the deep valley. It was raining nonstop. Among the dark clouds, there was a trace of moonlight that sprinkled down like the rain. In the rain, the shadow of the red-scaled man revealed a shocked expression for the first time. His demonic intent shadow was slowly melting in the rain. This is divine intent of rain. 8th grade divine intent. The 8th grade divine intent was 1 grade higher than the demonic intent. But this grade was like the difference between heaven and earth. Chapter 154. In this life, Ning Fan had fused 3 types of intent realms into it. The first was killing, the second was defying, and the third was loneliness. The divine intent of rain was an 8th grade divine intent. However, after Ning Fan had integrated 3 types of intent realms into it, this divine intent was actually not much weaker than an ordinary 7th grade divine intent. As for the crimson-scaled man's 9th grade demonic intent, carp demonic intent, It was only fused with his blood-red killing intent. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Not only was its grade inferior to Ning Fan's, but it was also much weaker in terms of profoundness. In just a moment, half of the blood-scaled man's shadow had melted away in the rain, but he forced himself to rush out of the purple light array. Inwardly, he was extremely shocked. He was shocked that a mere harmonious spirit cultivator like Ning Fan had comprehended an 8th grade divine intent. Those who could comprehend the 8th grade divine intent had the potential to become void refinement realm experts without exception. If they were lucky enough, they could even reach the void fragmentation realm. Even a dignified spirit-severing realm demon general like him did not dare to underestimate such a person. He viewed him as his greatest enemy. Almost immediately, the crimson-scaled man was sure of one thing. Once he left this place and dealt with the trivial matters, he would definitely send his true body to kill Ning Fan. This child must not be left alive. A dignified nascent level mid-grade Grand Array couldn't stop this man at all and was forcibly broken out of the Grand Array. He escaped, but Ning Fan didn't give chase. He just sneered. Before he left, the crimson-scaled man gave Ning Fan a deep look. It was as if he wanted to remember this person so that he could hunt him down in the future. Today, you hurt my companion demon. Someday it will be the day you die. I told you, you can't escape. Ning Fan didn't chase after him because he didn't need to. The moment the crimson-scaled man rushed out of the formation, In Suchio, who had been waiting outside the formation for a long time, took out her crystal bracelet and turned it into a crystal ring. It was suffused with golden light and black shadows. The ring smashed towards the crimson-scaled man. The crimson-scaled man was caught off guard by In Suchio's sneak attack. However, when he saw that In Suchio was only at the peak of the gold core realm and that the ring treasure was only a high-grade item, he did not put it to heart. Even a supreme-grade Dharma treasure would not be able to harm his demonic will phantom, let alone a mere superior-grade one. However, the moment the rings hit the crimson-scaled man, his expression changed drastically. The golden light and the black shadow on the bracelet seemed to carry a strand of the power of heaven and earth as they smashed onto the shadow. Immediately, there was a loud sound that could shake mountains and rivers. The crimson-scaled man let out a muffled groan. The crimson scales on his body were smashed into pieces by In Suchio's ring. Even half of his shadow had dissipated. He was so angry that he laughed and glared at Ning Fan. He did not know the name of this bangle treasure or its ability. However, he could sense a trace of Ning Fan's chi in it. This bangle must have been forged by Ning Fan and this woman must have been arranged by Ning Fan to ambush him. Alright, good. Today you've injured me, Li Ban. When you die in the future, you can be proud. Carp Ban, Ning Fan's eyes narrowed. It seemed like he had offended a powerful character, but even if they offended him, so what? Destroy. He pointed at his forehead and the Separation Slayer sword turned into starlight and flew out. It slashed at the demonic illusion of the man and destroyed it. Only then would there truly be no danger. With a flash of light, he pulled the limp demoness into his embrace. The demoness immediately started cursing. How dare you hurt Lord Li Ban? I'll fight you to the death. Ning Fan harumphed coldly. He pointed his plucking finger at the female demon's buttocks, causing her to lose consciousness. Then, he kept her in his cauldron ring. The reason why he did not kill the female demon was not only because she was an excellent cauldron, but also because of the crimson rune on her forehead. When the time comes, he could use a secret technique to remove it and keep it as his trump card. Within the crimson rune, the consciousness of the crimson-scaled man had already been erased. What was left was only the power of a spirit-severing realm cultivator. This was a good item. With this item, Ning Fan could even injure a peak nascent soul realm great cultivator once. After meeting up with In Suchio, Ning Fan removed the remaining immortal jades in the formation eye of the purple light formation and left before the cultivators of Song Country could investigate. Along the way, In Suchio could not contain her astonishment. The nascent soul realm female demon was easily dealt with by Ning Fan's body refining technique and bewitching technique. Finally, the crimson-scaled man gave In Suchio a terrifying sense of danger. However, he was eliminated by Ning Fan. As for the ring treasure that Ning Fan gave to her, it was able to injure the crimson-scaled man. The might of that ring was able to trigger the power of the heavens and earth. It was the most powerful magical treasure that In Suchio had ever seen in her life. Even some supreme-grade magical treasures could not trigger the power of the heavens and earth. Ning Fan gave such a precious magical treasure to her. Moreover, it seemed like this magical treasure had just been refined. Ning Fan's magical chi had yet to completely dissipate. This treasure was personally refined by Ning Fan. Was he refining this magical treasure for me during the 1 month he was not here? In Suchio had a strange thought that was hard to describe. She and Ning Fan flew towards the border of northern Song like two rainbows. Her thoughts were getting more and more complicated. "Why did you save me?" she asked in a low voice. She did not have the usual dignity of an old ancestor. "I said that I would protect you. Did you think that I was joking?" "Then this ring. Let's call this ring Heaven and Earth Ring for now. I refined it as compensation for destroying the water-like ring in order to save Ning City. Isn't this compensation too generous?" In Suchio said hesitantly. "You don't want it?" Ning Fan's eyelids twitched. No. In Suchio quickly held the crystal bracelet on her wrist tightly. She liked this bracelet very much. The two of them were speechless. 3 days later, they returned to the northern Song country's border Grand Formation and met up with Jingzhua. After Ning Fan left, some old monsters rushed to the Bloodflower Valley of western Song country one after another. They were shocked when they saw the magical chi that was left behind. It was indeed a battle between nascent soul realm experts. However, there was no longer any nascent soul realm old monsters in this place. The female demon and the mysterious nascent soul were not here. Did they leave Song country? This kind of vigilance lasted for a few months. After a few months, the old monsters of Song country heaved a sigh of relief when they realized that the female demon did not cause any more trouble. The crisis of Song country was finally over. The only regret was that none of their wives and daughters were saved, but compared to the destruction of Song country, this outcome was already considered as a blessing in disguise. After meeting up with Jingzhua, the 7 apricot voyage ship set sail again and sailed into Zheng country. Zheng country was also a low-ranked cultivation country. It was not much different from Song country. The vastness of its territory was also similar to Song country. There were also demons in Zheng country, but they were all small demons. There were no powerful nascent soul realm demons like the female demon. However, Zheng country was not at peace due to the demons that were stirred up along the way. After a few gold core realm old ancestors of Zheng country inspected the 7 apricot voyage ship and knew that it was not hostile, they let it pass. As the sun set, it had been almost 5 months since they left Ning City. They had been delayed in Song country for too long. "I'm sorry for wasting your time." In Suchio held the jade flute and stood behind Ning Fan. She slightly pursed her lips. "It's all right. I have gained something in this month." He could have captured the female demon directly, but he did not do so. He wanted to fulfill In Suchio's Tao. What touched In Suchio was his intention to fulfill her Tao. He wanted In Suchio to capture the female demon and refine the heaven and earth ring for her so that she could deal a fatal blow to the crimson-scaled man. Everything was just to fulfill her wish. That was why he did not gain anything even though he had been delayed in Song country for a month. After In Suchio met up with the Song country's righteous Tao, Ning Fan went to the 7 great devil sects of Song country and plundered them. 1 formation was destroyed, 2 cauldron sects were destroyed, and 3 cauldron mountains collapsed. He was not seeking revenge, but wealth. Every time he went to a sect, he would ask for spiritual ores and immortal jades. His methods were far beyond the imagination of the gold core devil monarchs of Song country. After being defeated, they could only obediently hand over the spiritual ores and immortal jades. The spiritual ores were needed for In Suchio to refine the heaven and earth ring. As for immortal jades, he would be short of money during his trip to the Endless Sea. The more immortal jades he had, the better. 7 great sects and nearly 100,000 immortal jades. He would not reject any of them. Other than the immortal jades, his biggest gain was the nascent soul realm female demon and the song country female cultivators. The nascent soul realm female demon was the key to cultivating the second level of yin-yang transformation. Although he had not broken through to the gold core realm and could not pluck her temporarily, once he forms his gold core in the endless sea, plucking her would greatly improve his cultivation base. As for the song country female cultivators, some of them were still virgins while some had their chastity taken by the female demon. However, Ning Fan did not mind it because even the female demon herself had become his cauldron. He did not have any opinion about cauldrons having sex with cauldrons. In Suchio was touched by Ning Fan's help. However, the stubborn In Suchio was still dissatisfied with some of Ning Fan's actions. Yes, very dissatisfied. Why didn't you kill that female demon? Why didn't you let go of the song country female cultivators? Her gaze was strange as she looked at Ning Fan's back. Could it be that Ning Fan wanted to use these women as cauldrons? Pluck them? After all, Ning Fan cultivated the dual cultivation devil technique. You have already guessed it. Why are you still asking me? Ning Fan did not turn around and smiled. Can't you just let them go? In Suchio said anxiously. Let them go? Who should I let go? The female demon? Let her go and let her find a spirit-severing demon general to kill me? Oh, you are talking about letting those song country female cultivators go. Why should I let them go? No reason. Isn't it reasonable to let them go after saving them? But if I let them go, I will be in danger. They saw me saving you. Tell me, can I let them go? Can you let them go back and tell their husbands and fathers that the nascent soul realm cultivator who fought with the female demon is Ning Fan of you country? Perhaps, my enemies will use this information to harm me. So, can you bear to let me die? I can't bear to... Why do you always beat around the bush with words? In Suchio's face blushed. Her words seemed to have revealed her true feelings. If she were to say it herself, she would never be able to say it. However, Ning Fan beat around the bush and said it out loud. But when she thought about it carefully, she understood Ning Fan's helplessness. Indeed, she couldn't let those song country female cultivators go. Otherwise, if something really happened to Ning Fan, what should she do? Those song country cultivators claimed to be righteous, but they were all dignified people. Who knows, they might really do something to Ning Fan. She wasn't a fool, she was just too stubborn. However, even if she couldn't let them go, she couldn't allow Ning Fan to pluck these female cultivators. All of these female cultivators came from famous sections. They were at least harmonious spirit realm and the stronger ones had gold core realm. To Ning Fan, they were all good cauldrons. In Suchio was really afraid that Ning Fan would pluck them out of thirst. After being plucked by the female demon, these women had lost their virginity, but their chastity was still intact. However, if Ning Fan did something to them, these women really wouldn't be able to live anymore. It's fine if you don't let them go, but you can't pluck them. In Suchio said firmly. Such good cauldrons are hard to find. Isn't it a pity that you don't want them? Ning Fan teased. In short, if you lay your hands on them, I will. What will you do? Ning Fan turned around and smiled at In Suchio's anxious expression. In Suchio's heart suddenly shuddered and she was secretly annoyed. She realized that she didn't have anything to threaten Ning Fan. She wasn't related to Ning Fan in any way and she had nothing to gain from Ning Fan. Moreover, she needed to eat and drink on Ning Fan's ship when she was heading to the endless sea. If that's the case, not only was she unable to threaten Ning Fan even had something on her. She was speechless. She bit her lips and her eyes were filled with sadness. She suddenly didn't understand why she stopped Ning Fan from plucking those women. Was it because of the righteous path's insistence? Or was it because she didn't want Ning Fan to have sex with too many women? She didn't understand, looking at the dignified old ancestor of you country being mute because of his questions. Ning Fan shook his head and comforted her. Don't worry, I won't pluck them. However, I can't let them go. They were merely harmonious spirit and gold core female cultivators. Moreover, most of them had lost their virginity. To Ning Fan, they were dispensable. As long as there was a female demon and a nascent soul female cultivator, it would be enough. From the bottom of his heart, Ning Fan didn't want to make In Suchio suffer because of such a small matter. Towards this woman, perhaps it wasn't as simple as gratitude. Above gratitude, there was also admiration. Above admiration, there might be a trace of appreciation. In Suchio was slightly touched when Ning Fan agreed to let these female cultivators go. But immediately, Ning Fan's words made In Suchio's emotions turn into boundless shame and anger. If I don't pluck them, I will lose a lot of human cauldrons for cultivation. Tell me, what should I do? Do you want to be my human cauldron? Don't even think about it. Is that so? Then you should play the flute for me. Ning Fan smiled. He didn't use the word play, as it was quite ambiguous. Alright, that's fine. In Suchio agreed and heaved a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Ning Fan would pluck her. Although Ning Fan's body was small, his strength was too terrifying when he erupted. If he used force, she wouldn't be able to resist. As for In Suchio, she obviously didn't know that she was teased by Ning Fan's words. The journey in Zheng country lasted for 4.5 months. During this period of time, Ning Fan started to cultivate Song country, Zheng country, Wei country and finally, Great Jin country. After passing 4 cultivation countries, he could use the teleportation formation of Great Jin to rush to In country and arrive at the Endless Sea. During this long journey, he mustn't waste any time. He mustn't. Chapter 155. Firstly, it wasn't necessary. Secondly, her mindset seemed to have changed. Her persistence towards the Tao had not changed, but her Tao had changed. Compared to protecting the righteous path, she seemed to have one more thing to do, which was to protect the 7 apricot voyage ship. Ning Fan did not continue to tease In Suchio. He was busy dealing with the spoils of war in Song country. 100,000 immortal jades went without saying. One could never have too little money. Dozens of Song country female cultivators were undone by Ning Fan's illusion technique. However, after planting the restrictive spell on them, they remained by Suchio's side to serve her. As for the reason, Suchio was worried about letting these delicate girls stay by Ning Fan's side. As for this group of women, regardless of their age, all of them were taken in as in-name disciples by him. The female cultivators of Song country naturally did not dare to reject In Suchio's offer. Moreover, they were afraid of Ning Fan from the bottom of their hearts. Many of them were clear-headed when they were rescued in the Bloodflower Valley. They witnessed Ning Fan transforming into a giant and repelling a nascent soul realm female demon. His strength was unimaginably terrifying. However, such a powerful devil did not let them go back to Song country. Instead, he kidnapped them to Zheng country and planted the restrictive spell on them. What does this devil want to do? Yes, he must want to pluck us. That's why he didn't let us go. When they thought of this possibility, the female cultivators of Song country felt as if they escaped from a fire pit but fell into a wolf's den. They finally realized that In Suchio, an old ancestor-level figure, had the intention to protect their innocence. Therefore, they became more sincere in worshipping her as their master. Even Gold Core realm experts were sincerely convinced by In Suchio. In Suchio was obviously an old ancestor-level expert who was about to form her nascent soul. She was probably a peak figure in Song country. Being able to worship her as a master was not in vain. The female cultivators of Song country clung to In Suchio's thigh tightly. They were extremely wary of Ning Fan. Ning Fan was too lazy to explain to them. He was happy to be free. After throwing these unrelated women into the cauldron ring, he decided to let In Suchio have some fresh air. In Suchio seemed to want to join a sect of female cultivators in the Endless Sea. If she brought so many experts with her, she might attract the attention of the sect master. The sect master might be In Suchio's good friend and it wouldn't be a problem for him to accept In Suchio. However, if he were to give In Suchio a position in the sect, all the factions in the sect would oppose it in unison. No one would wish for an outsider like In Suchio to divide up their forces. However, if In Suchio were to join this sect, she would be able to bring a large number of experts to the sect. In that case, In Suchio would perhaps be a meritorious person. As such, Ning Fan no longer had any opinion on how Suchio was going to deal with the female cultivators from Song Country. As long as she didn't release them, she could do whatever she wanted. Aside from these spoils of war, the greatest spoil of war in the Song Nation was the nascent soul demoness. In the secret chamber, Ning Fan was holding the demon's storage pouch and carefully checking it. The items inside were naturally his spoils of war. Hundreds of thousands of immortal jades. It was unknown how many sects of Song Country had she annihilated to obtain this item. The roots of several types of ancient spirit herbs. Judging from the age of these ancient spirit herbs, they were at least hundreds of thousands of years old. Even if they were just roots, it would be able to increase one's magical power by a lot if consumed. Other than that, Ning Fan also found a few tufts of spirit refining grass in the demon's storage pouch. This grass had been lost since ancient times, but it seemed like this ancient demon still had this kind of divine item. The demon race either cultivated their body or spirit sense. The spirit refining grass was undoubtedly the best item to strengthen spirit sense. It wasn't strange for the demon to carry some of this item with her. Her spirit sense was much stronger than ordinary early nascent soul realm cultivators. Even Ning Fan's spirit sense was not as strong as hers. The spirit refining grass couldn't be missed. Other than that, there were dozens of exquisite jade bottles in the demon's storage pouch. All of these jade bottles contained the virgin primordial Yin blood of Song Country's female cultivators. When the primordial Yin Qi in each of the jade bottles overlapped, Ning Fan's expression changed. If he consumed all these primordial Yin Qi, it was possible for his Yin-Yang transformation cultivation method to advance by a few realms. One of the reasons why he let the female cultivators of Song Country go was because these female cultivators had lost their primordial Yin blood. However, the primordial Yin blood of these female cultivators was carefully collected and stored by the demon. Perhaps the demon had taken enough for herself and prepared to give the rest to her companion demon generals. But now that these things were in Ning Fan's hands, it was impossible for them to run away. He calmed himself down slightly and looked through the rest of the items in the demon's storage pouch. Gradually, his eyes turned solemn and he took out a few ancient scrolls from the demon's storage pouch. These scrolls were made with the skin of the ancient demon race. Each scroll carried the vicissitudes of demon Qi. Among the 7 scrolls, 4 of them were recorded with ancient demon characters that Ning Fan couldn't understand. As for the other 3 scrolls, they were densely covered with countless dim blood dots. The ancient demon characters were very similar to the inscription on the Eastern Ocean Bell, but they were different. Obviously, they were not the same characters. The ancient demon race wasn't just one clan. There were many kinds of characters. Not being able to recognize the characters made Ning Fan feel helpless. Even the ancient Chaos Great Emperor couldn't recognize these characters. Perhaps the 4 scrolls contained incredible demon race cultivation methods, but it seemed like he didn't have the chance to obtain them. Fortunately, he could still use the remaining 3 scrolls. Ning Fan knew that the blood on the scrolls was another method of the ancient demon race's inherited cultivation method. The ancient demon inheritance consisted of the demon characters and the bloodline inheritance. The demon characters were the supreme secrets of each race. Only the higher-ups of the race would know about them. The demon characters must be the important cultivation method of the race. As for the bloodline inheritance, it was usually the basic demon race cultivation method. It was Ning Fan's first time using the bloodline scroll. He closed his eyes slightly and recalled. Then he placed one of the 3 bloodline scrolls on his thigh. His fingers made a strange gesture and formed a hand seal. Demonic arts were activated by fingers and used sense as the power. Activating the bloodline scroll also required a special demonic art. Blood reading art was an extremely low-grade demonic art. However, it was very difficult for Ning Fan to cast it. This was Ning Fan's first time casting demonic art. His fingers were jerky and clumsy. It was a completely different concept from casting the hand seals of a cultivator. When casting demonic art, his fingers formed the hand seals, as if he could move the heaven and earth. It was a very mysterious feeling. What made Ning Fan dumbfounded was that his first attempt at casting the blood-reading art had ended in failure. It wasn't strange that he failed. Casting demonic arts required the hand seals and the speed of the fingers. The more profound the demonic art, the higher the requirement of the hand seals. As for Ning Fan, he wasn't familiar with the hand seals of the blood-reading art. He wasn't familiar with changing his magical power into sense power when casting demonic power. Therefore, the dignified revered Ning of Sinister Sparrow sect failed to cast a low-grade demonic art. After casting the demonic art for more than 10 times, all of them failed without exception. When it came to the hand seals, he felt like he was facing a layer of barrier that he couldn't familiarize himself with. As for casting magical art with sense power, it was resisted by an invisible law, causing him to fail. Not only did he fail, but he also forcefully cast demonic art with his human body, causing his finger to be swollen. He gradually understood that the law of heaven and earth that obstructed him was the difference between humans and demons. Naturally, humans would fail when casting demonic arts. In the end, it was because humans didn't have demon veins. Without demon veins, they couldn't cast demonic arts to open the bloodline scrolls. Even if they opened the scrolls, they wouldn't be able to cultivate without demon veins. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. It seemed like he wasn't fated with this demonic art. Just as he was shaking his head, the girl who had been sleeping in the yin-yang locket after the battle with Bai fading in his dantian suddenly yawned and woke up. What a sweet sleep. This is the bloodline scroll of the ancient demon race? Where did you get it? The mysterious girl revealed a surprised tone for the first time. When the mysterious lady's gaze fell upon the swollen blood on Ning Fan's finger, she immediately exclaimed, "You cast demonic art? Did you succeed?" There was a hint of excitement in her voice. "I failed." Ning Fan smiled bitterly. "Will I fail?" The girl didn't understand. "I have the yin-yang devil vein. Without demon veins, I will naturally fail." Wrong. It seems like your understanding of the yin-yang devil vein isn't enough. How much do you know about this immemorial devil vein? Do you know why I spent so much effort and risked my life to obtain the inheritance of ancient chaos? You should know that it's easy for me to obtain the inheritance of other fiend gods with my identity. Moreover, the power of the other fiend gods' inheritance is far beyond the ancient chaos inheritance. The girl's words made Ning Fan ponder. Indeed, he knew too little about the yin-yang devil vein, and the ancient chaos immortal emperor didn't mention much about it in the inherited memories. The only thing he had seen about the immemorial divine vein and devil vein was the corpse devil vein of the black corpse. His opinion of the corpse demon vein was not biased. It was much stronger than the yin-yang demon vein. The yin-yang devil vein was known as the devil vein, but there was no corresponding fiend god body cultivation method. For example, the black corpse had the corpse devil transformation body refining technique. For example, the Bone Emperor, whom Ning Fan had never met before, had a 10,000 zhang giant body refining technique. Moksha Emperor should also have a powerful fiend god body refining technique. However, the yin-yang devil vein didn't have it. Otherwise, Ning Fan wouldn't need to cultivate the colossal bone secret arts. If the yin-yang transformation had its own body refining technique, Ning Fan was confident that he could cultivate 100 zhang giant fiend god body with his current body refining realm. In that case, with the first realm of silver bone, he could transform into 100 zhang giant and fight against an intermediate nascent soul expert. The yin-yang transformation was completely different from the other fiend god inheritances. Why was it that Ning Fan was intrigued by the mysterious girl's question? This mysterious girl had an extraordinary background, but she valued the ancient chaos immortal inheritance more than any other fiend god inheritance. This yin-yang transformation must have something that was far more powerful than the other fiend god techniques. Ning Fan's thoughts raced. He had vaguely guessed the most extraordinary thing about the yin-yang transformation, but he wasn't sure. The yin-yang transformation is a cultivation technique that allows one to consume pills very quickly. It can also increase one's cultivation base by plucking women. As a devil vein, it was able to develop divinity in the devil heart, turning it into a divine vein and helping me condense the divine star. The most profound thing about this cultivation technique seems to be the word geo. It can absorb all the energy that can't be fused and turn it into my own. Could it be? When he thought of this, he suddenly thought of a possibility. The girl's words immediately gave Ning Fan an answer. That's right. Given your current realm, it's not something that the ancient Chaos Immortal Emperor could give you. The most powerful thing about the yin-yang transformation is the word geo. Rumor has it that during the immemorial era, the ancient Chaos Immortal Emperor listened to the words love with impartiality and not attack from the Immortal Emperor's teachings. He suddenly had an epiphany and abandoned all the offensive techniques of his fiend god body. Instead, he cultivated the word Jiu with all his energy. It seems like your yin-yang devil vein has already stimulated its divinity and condensed the divine star. Not bad at all. However, you should know that the yin-yang devil vein isn't a devil vein, divine vein, or demon vein. This immortal vein can transform all the abilities of an immortal vein. It can cultivate divine art, devil art, and demon art. It doesn't have a specific body refining technique because it can adapt to almost any body refining technique. You can use this technique to condense the divine star in your glabella, condense the demon star in your left eye, and the devil star in your right eye. The most powerful thing about the ancient Chaos Immortal Emperor was that he cultivated divine, demon, and devil arts at the same time. This cultivation technique of his isn't the strongest fiend god technique, but it can merge almost all fiend god techniques. It was said to have created chaos in the immemorial era. That's why it is called ancient chaos. The mysterious lady explained in detail while Ning Fan listened to her in silence. The woman's tone was full of envy, so much so that she couldn't put it into words. In order to obtain this inheritance, she was willing to take a great risk and offended many powerful forces, but in the end, the yin-yang locket fell into Ning Fan's hands. How many tens of thousands of years had passed since that incident? She couldn't remember clearly. Now that the ancient Chaos Immortal inheritance had been forgotten by all the true immortals, Ning Fan had obtained a strange technique that could move the hearts of countless true immortals. His luck was truly heaven-defying. Or could it be that Ning Fan's body was fated with the yin-yang transformation cultivation technique? The mysterious lady suddenly muttered to herself. She suddenly felt puzzled. With Ning Fan's human body, why didn't he suffer serious injuries after using the demonic art? Instead, his fingers were only swollen. One should know that if a human used demonic art, he or she would be devoured by demonic qi. Demonic qi was a kind of poison to cultivators. Of course, there were also human cultivators who opened up demonic veins and imitated the demonic art. But in that case, the cultivators with demonic veins wouldn't be able to use human magical arts, otherwise, they would be injured. But Ning Fan was undoubtedly a human. Only his fingers were swollen after using the demonic art. Could it be that Ning Fan had the demonic bloodline in his bloodline? Moreover, this bloodline was either destroyed or extremely thin. Otherwise, with Ning Fan's perception, he would have been able to use the demonic art after failing a few times. A huge doubt rose in the mysterious lady's heart. At the same time, her heart was slightly excited. If Ning Fan really had the demonic bloodline of countless generations of ancestors, then under her guidance, he might be able to use the blood reading technique and read the bloodline scroll. He might even be able to stimulate the thin inheritance in his bloodline and completely add demonic power to the devil heart and divinity in the yin-yang devil vein. Would Ning Fan be the first person to accomplish this feat after Great Emperor Ancient Chaos? The mysterious lady had been lonely for tens of thousands of years. Her interest was immediately aroused by the matter in front of her. She wanted to probe Ning Fan's background, but Ning Fan spoke first before she could. Speaking of which, I have a good relationship with you, but I still don't know your name. Isn't it a pity? Ning Fan asked with a smile. Miss, I'm tens of thousands of times older than the current divine emperor of the Rain World. Little brother, you're very interesting. There's no harm in telling you. I'm from the chaotic heaven immortal world of the Northern Sea Heaven. My immortal title in the past was the god of Luo River. My name is Luo Yu. You must remember it. So it's God Luo? Good name. Ning Fan could imagine how beautiful this mysterious lady was just by hearing her name. Luoyu? That's a good name. This lady must have been cold and aloof in the past. It was only because she had been locked in the yin-yang locket for too long that she started to talk to him. Ning Fan pondered over Luoyu's words. A bold guess emerged in his mind. This was exactly what Luoyu was thinking about. The yin-yang devil vein could cultivate god, demon and devil at the same time. If he could activate a trace of demonic force by chance, even if it was a weak trace, he was confident that he could cultivate another type of demonic force in the yin-yang devil vein. Undoubtedly, he could use the demonic technique in front of him. Ancient god, ancient demon and ancient devil. In terms of power, the yin-yang transformation wasn't as good as other divine techniques. However, in terms of profundity, it was hard to find a second cultivation technique that could match it. May I ask Fairy Luoyu if I have a way to activate a trace of demonic force to display demonic techniques? This is also what I want to study. I hope you don't mind if I use my immortal technique on you? Luoyu's bell-like laughter carried a trace of expectation. She really wanted to know if there was really a trace of demon bloodline in Ning Fan's bloodline. Chapter 156. Luoyu seemed to be in a good mood. Ning Fan trusted Luoyu. After all, she still needed his help to escape from the yin-yang locket. She wouldn't harm him. He pondered for a moment and allowed her to use the immortal technique on him. Luoyu smiled faintly at Ning Fan's trust. Unknowingly, she became closer to Ning Fan. Immortal Inquiry Technique was an immortal technique used to test a cultivator's bloodline. Some of the major forces in the four heavens placed great importance on bloodline. This technique was widely used to test the bloodline of cultivators. Luoyu's expression turned solemn. It wasn't easy for her to use this technique now. After using it 5 times, Ning Fan finally succeeded. At this moment, he shivered as if he was being watched by a pair of cold eyes. Every meridian in his bloodline became extremely clear and distinct. After a long time, Luoyu stopped using the technique. She pondered for a moment and said with a smile, "There is indeed a trace of demon bloodline in your body, but it's extremely thin. Such a thin bloodline wouldn't be graded in the four heavens. Other demons might not even be able to cultivate it. But you're different. You have the yin-yang devil vein. With my help, it shouldn't be difficult for you to activate a trace of demon power. If you succeed, although your divinity is shallow and your demon power is weak, you'll definitely be a person who cultivates the divine, demon and devil paths at the same time. I don't know what realm you'll be able to reach, but I'm sure that with the power of 3 races at the same time, you'll rarely have a match in the same realm, even in the four heavens." Luoyu's tone carried a hint of excitement. She had missed the opportunity to obtain the yin-yang locket, but Ning Fan had made up for her regret. Luoyu didn't care about why Ning Fan possessed the demon bloodline. As for Ning Fan himself, he didn't care about it either. He had no parents. So what if he knew the origin of his bloodline? Return to the clan? What he cared about was not the origin of his bloodline, but the possibility of activating his demon power. What should I do next? I'm not from the demon race, so I'm not familiar with demon cultivation. However, I do know a thing or two about the method to activate my bloodline. This method is called boiling blood stimulating veins. Activating the demon bloodline was a difficult task. Among the demon race, the younger the demon race that activated its bloodline, the purer its bloodline would be, and the higher its talent. Most of the demons had completed their bloodline awakening before reaching the harmonious spirit realm. Ning Fan was the first one who was about to form his gold core. Moreover, his demon blood was extremely thin, so it was extremely difficult for him to do so. Boiling blood pulse, as the name suggested, used a special secret technique to stimulate the blood, causing the blood to be in a boiling state. Through this, one could sense the deeply hidden demonic race bloodline within the blood. The pain of blood boiling was like the burning of all 5 internal organs. It was not something that could be endured by ordinary people, but it was nothing to Ning Fan. This pain was not as painful as the colossal bone secret art or the jade royal pill. The time limit given by Luo Yu was 10 days. If he couldn't sense his bloodline within 10 days, he would have to rest for a few months before he could boil his blood again. If one continued to boil their blood, it was very likely that the cultivator's body would be heavily injured. One day, there were no results. 5 days without any results. After 10 days, Ning Fan still could not sense any bloodline. It made Luo Yu rather nervous. "Don't force yourself," she advised. She still needed Ning Fan's help to leave the yin-yang locket. She didn't want anything to happen to him. "It's all right." Ning Fan's forehead was filled with sweat and his muscles were twitching, but he still smiled. An ordinary person could only endure for 10 days after boiling their blood, but he could endure for much longer. It wasn't only because of his tyrannical body refinement, but also because of his endurance. He didn't have a few months to wait for the second blood boiling. He must succeed in one try. As such, there was only one word: endurance. If 10 days wasn't enough, then 20 days. If 20 days wasn't enough, then 30 days. In short, he wouldn't wait. On the 15th day, he sensed a trace of bloodline, but it was too vague and he couldn't comprehend it completely. On the 19th day, he sensed his bloodline for the second time. This time, he almost succeeded, but unfortunately, that trace of bloodline was evaporated just as he was about to succeed. What a pity! If it was an ordinary cultivator who had endured the endless pain but failed twice, he would have given up. Even Ning Fan's heart was slightly shaken after failing twice. But he immediately clenched his teeth and calmed his mind, then began to feel his bloodline for the third time. For 5 whole days, his mind was immersed in the bloodline, and he even forgot about the pain. On the 24th day, he grabbed that trace of demon bloodline and immediately immersed his mind into the bloodline, activating it. In an instant, the aura around his body underwent a drastic change. A pair of illusory black wings grew out from his back. Demon marks appeared on his face. His black hair broke free from the hairband and became waist-length, fluttering wildly in the demonic chi. "It's done!" His eyes carried a trace of demonic divine light. He didn't have this kind of gaze before activating his demon power. It was the demonic gaze of the demon race. Luo Yu sighed faintly and shook her head after sensing Ning Fan's unusual change. She seemed to be disappointed. "Is this the Feather Clan?" "A very ordinary demon. I thought that with your strong luck, you might have a true spirit bloodline." "A true spirit bloodline? Aren't you overestimating me? As a human, it's already extremely rare for me to have a trace of demon bloodline." Ning Fan smiled bitterly. It wasn't strange for a human to have a trace of demon bloodline. Who could guarantee that their ancestors didn't marry with the demon race? The true spirit bloodline, such as the immemorial Thunder Dragon, immemorial Fire Phoenix, and immemorial Dark Sparrow, were all extremely rare demon bloodlines. How could he have such a bloodline? The Feather Clan was an extremely large clan. Most of them lived in the demon world. In the Rain world, there were also some extremely ordinary demon clans. Ning Fan felt that it was reasonable for him to have such a bloodline. There were strong and weak Feather Clan. Rumor had it that there were void fragmentation experts of the Feather Clan in the demon world. This clan attached great importance to their bloodline. They could use their bloodline to activate their wings and increase their flying speed. With Ning Fan's diluted bloodline, he might not even be comparable to some 2nd or 3rd level vein opening Feather Clan. The black wings that he activated were illusory. They dissipated immediately after they formed, and his demonic appearance began to return to normal. Condensing such a bloodline was useless to other demon clans. But to Ning Fan, it was a progress that transcended the era. At this point, he could be considered to have completed the cultivation of Ancient God, Ancient Demon, and Ancient Devil. As he formed a seal and cast the little Yao art, blood reading art, it instantly became much easier. One of the barriers had disappeared. The information contained in the 3 demonic blood scrolls was immediately grasped by Ning Fan using the blood reading art. The first scroll recorded 500 types of small demonic arts. It was the enlightenment art of the demon clan, including the blood reading art, fire sense art, water sense art, and other basic spirit sense art. The second volume was the demonic cultivation method of the red flower demoness. It was called the Camellia Scripture. It was an evil demonic cultivation method that focused on plucking. To Ning Fan, it was exactly the first volume of demonic power cultivation method. There was no other reason. Plucking demonic art had the least rejection with yin-yang transformation. The third scroll was a nascent realm mid-grade demonic art. It was called Demon Starfall. It was the same demonic art that the female demon used to break the grand formation of the ship from 1,000 miles away. This art borrowed the power of the starlight. It was extraordinary and could be considered as the top technique among the nascent realm mid-grade techniques. The 3 scrolls of techniques had almost established Ning Fan's demon cultivation path. Even though it was still immature, the path of cultivation would certainly be extraordinary with the combination of God, demon, and devil in one body. Using the God as the technique, the devil as the body, and the demon as the consciousness. Ning Fan kept all the scrolls but didn't leave. He began to cultivate demonic arts. He didn't have any foundation in the cultivation of demonic arts, so it would be extremely time-consuming. Before cultivating, he had to do something else. The spoils of war weren't finished yet. All right, sister will sleep for a while more. Casting the Immortal Inquiry art this time has consumed a lot of my energy. Luo Yu yawned gently and said with a tired tone, "Thank you. You've helped me again. And, as long as you don't forget sister's kindness, I will be satisfied." His biggest spoils of war were the female demon. Ning Fan set up a formation in the secret chamber to ensure that everything was safe. Then he summoned the female demon from the cauldron ring. The plucking finger devoured the female demon's body. There was also a red mist in the cauldron ring, causing the female demon to remain in an unconscious state. This saved Ning Fan a lot of trouble. He carefully examined the talisman on the female demon's glabella. He took out a green jade slip that he had prepared beforehand and carefully imprinted the talisman on her glabella with his magical power. The demon general's will within the talisman had been destroyed by Ning Fan. What was left was only the power of the demon general's strike. The power of the talisman was absorbed into the jade slip. The green jade slip immediately turned into a blood-red jade slip that glowed with blood-red light. There was a vast sense of crisis coming from it. Even Ning Fan felt a slight chill down his spine. This was a spirit-severing strike. Under this strike, even a peak nascent soul realm cultivator would have to avoid it. As for a late nascent soul realm cultivator, Ning Fan could inflict serious injuries with this jade slip. As for a mid-nascent soul realm cultivator, they would die for sure. Another trump card. This trip to the Endless Sea has become slightly safer. After putting away the demon, Ning Fan took out a charred black corpse from his storage pouch with a thought. If he were to use the corpse devil transformation technique to refine this black corpse, it would be a great help to him. With the strength of this corpse, if he could successfully refine it, he would be able to fight against ordinary nascent soul realm cultivators. Open the furnace, refine the corpse. 10 days later, in the secret chamber, a man in black armor appeared beside Ning Fan. This man was covered from head to toe in black armor. Even his eyes were hidden. The black armor was extraordinary. It was a high-grade spiritual armor. As for the man in black armor, he was even more extraordinary. There was no sign of vitality around him. He was clearly a refined corpse. However, as Ning Fan's spirit sense moved, the refined corpse immediately received the order and punched the sword-testing stone in the secret chamber. The entire ship shook violently, causing Suchio and the others to be secretly shocked. The sword-testing stone was shattered. The strength of the punch did not decrease. It almost shattered the peak core realm grand formation that Ning Fan had set up in the secret chamber. However, this was just an ordinary punch from the refined corpse. With this corpse, I can fight against an early nascent soul realm cultivator. Even an intermediate nascent soul realm expert might not be able to destroy this corpse. The defense of this corpse is unparalleled. However, he is just a half-step corpse devil. He is still a distance away from becoming a real corpse devil. I wonder how powerful a real corpse devil is. Should I take a look? His eyes flashed. He shook the cauldron ring and took out a green coffin. The sound of the female corpse rubbing the lid of the coffin could be heard from the green coffin. It made Ning Fan's scalp tingle. However, when he thought of the similarity between the female corpse and Mu Weiliang, his fear towards the female corpse lessened. Please allow me to explore your secret. Sorry for offending you. Ning Fan pointed at the coffin and lifted the lid. The moment the lid was lifted, a deadly killing intent came from the green coffin, causing all the cultivators on the ship to feel a chill run down their spines. You deserve to die. The female corpse that resembled Mu Weiliang immediately locked all her killing intent on Ning Fan. She had become a corpse devil. Black armor, do it. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. Under his command, the half-step corpse devil black-armored refined corpse immediately flashed with a black light. It punched out and collided with the female corpse's claw. However, the result of the collision was beyond Ning Fan's expectation. The black corpse that was indestructible in the 6th Revolution Dragonfire was easily crushed by the female corpse's claw. If the black corpse didn't retreat fast enough, it was highly possible that he would have been torn into pieces by the female corpse. Ning Fan had a clear understanding of the strength of the female corpse after she became a corpse devil. Perhaps even an ordinary spirit-severing cultivator wouldn't be a match for this corpse. This corpse devil had just taken form. If this corpse devil was allowed to cultivate for tens of thousands of years, wouldn't even void fragmentation old monsters have to retreat? The moment the black corpse blocked the female corpse, Ning Fan immediately activated the grand formation of the secret chamber and locked the feet of the female corpse. Then he teleported behind the female corpse and struck several plucking finger force ferociously. The female corpse's back had already been softened by Ning Fan's secret art, but now it was as hard as iron. Even with his body refining art, he could feel the pain of his finger bones breaking when he touched the female corpse's back with his finger. As such, the plucking finger force couldn't enter the female corpse's body. Being ambushed by Ning Fan's bewitching technique, the female corpse's blank eyes became even more furious. She vaguely remembered that it was the skinny youth in front of her who took away her chastity. Hate, so much hate. The claw struck down. The danger of certain death appeared in Ning Fan's mind. He shouted without hesitation. Black armor. The black corpse was summoned and immediately appeared in front of Ning Fan to block the fatal strike. The female's claw penetrated the black armor and penetrated the black corpse's chest. Fortunately, the corpse wasn't a living person. Otherwise, it would have been injured if not dead. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a sigh. He glanced at the female corpse's appearance again. Without hesitation, he slapped the female corpse's waist, pushing her into the green coffin and immediately closed the coffin. The coffin seemed to have a suppressive effect on the female corpse. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't leave the coffin. Weiyang, what's the relationship between you and this corpse? Ning Fan shook his head. Unless his strength surpassed the female corpse, he wouldn't dare to find out more about her. After keeping the green coffin, Ning Fan smiled bitterly as he looked at the black-armored refined corpse that had just been refined. As such, he could only refine it once or twice. However, this black-armored refined corpse was extremely useful. If it wasn't for this corpse, Ning Fan wouldn't dare to open the coffin. This refined corpse was the best meat shield. If the black corpse knew that its body was used as a shield by Ning Fan after its death, it was unknown what would it think. Suqiu and Jingzhuo were gathered outside the secret chamber. They were naturally attracted by the shocking event just now. What happened? Suqiu was slightly worried. She knew that Ning Fan was powerful, but the bone-chilling killing intent just now wasn't something that a nascent soul cultivator possessed. What was that thing? It's nothing, just a small matter. Ning Fan kept the black corpse and left the secret chamber with a faint smile. Suqiu heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Ning Fan was fine. At the same time, she felt a little strange. Ning Fan seemed to be a little different today. Compared to before, there was a trace of demonic qi in his eyes. In his left eye, there was a trace of undetectable starlight that flashed faintly. One day, this starlight might be able to condense into a demon star and bestow Ning Fan with a new divine ability. Let's go. I haven't heard the flute for a few days. You must have waited for a long time. Ning Fan teased. Who waited for a long time? Suchio secretly hid the jade flute behind her back. She felt somewhat embarrassed. She was indeed waiting to play the flute for Ning Fan. However, she didn't understand her thoughts and she didn't want Ning Fan to know about it. The sun was about to set and the flute sounded again. The scenery of Zheng country was secretly changing. 4.5 months had passed. It had been 9 months since he left Ning City. Chapter 157. In this place, the evil Dao had almost crushed the righteous Dao, and the evil Dao was constantly killing each other. It wasn't strange to see ruins of sects on the ship. The only thing that made Ning Fan sigh was the countless tombs in the green mountains and clear waters. Zheng country was in chaos due to the addition of demons. Many cultivators died every day, but there would always be people who would erect tombs for them. This was the tradition of Zheng country's cultivators. If they had the strength to spare, they would erect tombs for dead cultivators. In Suchio didn't like the atmosphere of Zheng country. She hated the scene of constant fighting. However, Ning Fan's gaze was fixed on the tombs. No one knew if the person buried in the tombs was a man or a woman. No one knew if the person buried in the tombs was a vein opening junior or a gold core old monster. Everything they pursued in their lives would be after death. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Zheng country might be in chaos, but this tradition made Ning Fan sigh with emotion and envy. While they were alive, they would erect tombs for them after death. The cultivators of Yu country and Song country couldn't compare to this kind of open-mindedness. Therefore, in Ning Fan's eyes, each of the desolate tombs became a wonderful scenery. His state of mind was faintly improved. Once you enter the cultivation world, you wouldn't know when you would die. Even if you were a high and mighty nascent soul realm cultivator, you might encounter an extremely powerful spirit severing old devil and die unknowingly. Who wouldn't die in this world? But what was harder than death was having someone erect a tomb for you after death. If the flowers die, I'll bury them. If I die, who will bury them? What can you see from these tombs? Are you planning to dig them up? In Suchio looked at Ning Fan with a strange gaze. Am I really that prejudiced against you? Ning Fan felt helpless. He closed his eyes and said solemnly, relatives may still grieve, but others have already sung. What's the point of dying? Let's just leave our bodies to the mountains. Zheng country has the great Tao of life and death, but this Tao is beyond my understanding. I can't comprehend it, but the desolation and loneliness of this mountain is very beneficial to me. Ning Fan's words made In Suchio ponder. Ning Fan was unfamiliar and unreachable to her. In Suchio stood between the righteous Tao and evil Tao. She was already quite conceited. But what Ning Fan saw was the great Tao of heaven and earth. He cultivated in the day, listened to the flute in the evening, and looked at the grave at night. After comprehending the demon blood, Ning Fan had learned all 500 types of minor demonic techniques. Starting from the simplest fire sense technique, he began to cultivate diligently. The sound of the flute in the evening calmed his heart devil. Under the dim light of the night, the desolate graves made Ning Fan's divine intent of rain even more lonely. 4.5 months of travel in Zheng. During this journey, the most noteworthy thing was Ning Fan's improvement in demonic arts. 500 kinds of little Yao arts, such as fire spirit art, water spirit art, and other 5 elemental spirit arts. There were also slightly more complex ice spirit art and melting spirit art. There was also the extremely practical blood reading technique, as well as the most commonly used possession technique by demons and ghosts. They were called little Yao arts, but each Yao art had a high requirement. The lowest grade was Ling level. Psychic power was already difficult to learn, and demons would only be faced with a choice when they reached the golden elixir realm, to transform into a human, or to retain their demon bodies. Of course, the true spirit Fey race had powerful bloodlines, so they could have both. But for the ordinary Fey race, they had to make a choice. As for the Fey race that could transform into a human, they had to be at least at the golden elixir realm. This was the initiation period for them to learn little Yao arts. These little Yao arts were complicated and simple. Their power was not comparable to core or nascent spirit arts, but each and every one of them was not to be underestimated. Every little Yao art was passed down by an ancient demon. Among them, there was the principle of turning complexity into simplicity. Demonic arts focused on the speed of hand seals, which was different from magical arts. Only when one was not proficient in using magical arts would he need to make hand seals. Once he reached the proficient level, he could release magical arts with a flick of his fingers. But there was an essential difference between demonic arts and magical arts. Magical arts were used by a cultivator to transform the magical power in his body into offense and defense. Demonic arts, on the other hand, were used by the Fey race to connect the heaven and earth, borrowing the magical power of the heaven and earth. And the link between the Fey race and the heaven and earth was finger seals. In the beginning, Ning Fan's hand seals were extremely slow. He would need 10 breaths of time to cast one of the simplest fire spirit art. But as time went by, Ning Fan's hand seals became more and more proficient. From 10 breaths of time to 3 breaths of time to 1 breath of time. He would stand in the morning breeze with his eyes slightly closed while his hand seals were changing rapidly. Even the simplest fire spirit art required more than 10 finger seals. But Ning Fan could complete it in just a breath of time. His finger shadows were so fast that Suqiu was speechless. She was afraid that he was the fastest cultivator she had ever seen in her life. When the finger shadows were faster, Ning Fan felt that his connection with the heaven and earth was getting closer. The reason why he cultivated demonic arts in the beginning was to cultivate both the divine, demon and devil arts at the same time. His magical power had reached a bottleneck and his body refining technique could not break through the 3rd level of the Colossal Bone's secret arts. But it was a good time for him to cultivate demonic arts and increase his demonic power. Although his magical power could not be increased, the demonic power that he cultivated would obviously increase the quality of his magical power after fusing with his magical power. It was much richer than other cultivators of the same realm. The power of the magical arts he cast would also be stronger. But what Ning Fan cared about the most was that cultivating demonic arts might not be as simple as increasing his demonic power. The feeling of becoming one with the heaven and earth was too mysterious. Rumor has it that the immortal emperor of 1 billion worlds was a peerless demon. Among the 4 heavens and 9 worlds created by the immortal emperor, demonic arts were undoubtedly closer to the heaven and earth. As time passed, Ning Fan was undergoing a transformation. He began to cultivate the Camellia scripture. Although he had the winged demon bloodline, his demonic power had not yet stabilized. He possessed ice and fire magical power and a lightning star was condensed on his glabella. Unknowingly, he already possessed the 3 elements of water, fire and metal. It would not be an exaggeration to call him a 3-spirit cultivator. Since he cultivated demonic arts, he was not willing to cultivate the 3 elements of water, fire and metal. Instead, he wanted to choose between wood and earth. Metal, wood, water, fire and earth. He had already mastered 3 of the 5 elements. The Camellia scripture was a wood spirit demonic art. By cultivating this art, Ning Fan would possess 4 spirits and be comparable to a 4-spirit cultivator. For spirits, those who could master the 4 elements were all cultivators above the nascent soul realm without exception. The hardest part of forming a nascent soul for ordinary people was to comprehend the 5 elements and condense the 5 spirits. They had to condense the void veins of the other 4 elements above their own veins and combine them into one to form a nascent soul. By cultivating the Camellia scripture, Ning Fan would possess 4 spirits. If he could find an earth attribute evil art that was more powerful than the Colossal Bone's secret arts, he would certainly be able to cultivate the last element, the earth element. In this way, he would possess all 5 elements and form a nascent soul. He would need at least 100 years less to comprehend the heavenly Tao compared to ordinary cultivators. After forming the core, it might not take too long to form a nascent soul. This thought was deeply rooted in Ning Fan's mind after he learned about the power of the yin-yang devil veins. The Colossal Bone's secret arts was a fire attribute body refining art. If he wanted to change to a stronger earth attribute body refining art, corpse devil transformation, would that be great? Only by burying a corpse in the ground would one know the power of earth. In this way, he would possess all 5 elements. Previously, he regretted that he couldn't cultivate the corpse devil transformation because he couldn't condense the corpse vein. But now, he only needed enough corpse chi to fuse with the yin-yang devil veins. Then, he would be able to attach the corpse vein ability to the yin-yang devil veins. Thus, when he was in Zheng, he was also looking for graves. Unfortunately, none of the graves in Zheng country contained a nascent soul cultivator. The corpse chi was not enough to activate the corpse vein ability. This made Ning Fan sigh slightly. Perhaps, he could only wait until he formed his core in the endless sea and seek for a nascent soul body to absorb the corpse chi there. Demonic art, corpse art. Ning Fan himself didn't know whether he would become a demon or a corpse devil in the future. Would he bare his fangs and brandish his claws, or would his body rot like the black corpse? He didn't care about any of these. He only cared about strength. It had been 9 months since he left Ning City. The 7 apricot voyage ship crossed the border and sailed into Wei country. There were many Zen cultivators and temples in Wei country. What surprised Ning Fan the most was that he finally knew the reason why so many low-ranked cultivation countries were plagued by demons. So it's fellow Taoist Zhou Ming. I'm sorry for not recognizing you. Fellow Taoist, don't you know that Great Jin is currently facing waves of demons? 100,000 demon soldiers are wreaking havoc in Great Jin? Why must fellow Taoist enter Great Jin at this time? An early gold core cultivator on the 7 apricot voyage ship said to Zhou Ming. This Zen cultivator wore a green kasaya and held a Buddhist staff in his hand. He was 8 feet tall, but he was as thin as a monkey and had a monkey face. He addressed Ning Fan as Zhou Ming because Ning Fan had been using a fake name ever since he entered Wei country. Now that he was far away from Yu country, he might offend those ancient sects and ruthless people in the endless sea in order to cultivate. That was why he couldn't use his real name. As for this Zen cultivator, he was saved by the ship when it passed by a hill in Wei country. And it was by chance. The one who saved him was In Suchio. Since In Suchio had taken action, Ning Fan couldn't ignore her. The demon chaos in Wei country was beyond Ning Fan's imagination. Not only were there gold core realm demons, but there were also nascent soul realm demons. However, Wei country was adjacent to Great Jin. It had received help from the experts of the Rain Palace's branch palace. There were also a few nascent soul realm cultivators of the Rain Palace chasing after the nascent soul realm demons in Wei country. This early gold core realm Zen cultivator brought along a group of young monks to deliver something back to his sect. However, they were besieged by a group of demons on their way back. There were 3 gold core realm demons among them. The young monks under him were all dead. He was the only one who managed to survive and was saved by In Suchio. This Zen cultivator was somewhat thick-skinned. Once he was saved, he immediately stayed on the 7 apricot voyage ship. He could see that there were old ancestors like In Suchio and Jing Zhua here, so he begged In Suchio to bring him back to his sect. His name was Holian. However, Ning Fan felt that this Zen cultivator was not called thick-skinned. His disciple was dead, but he was still alive and he still had the nerve to smile. He hugged the thigh he saw and was as timid as a mouse. How could it not be thick-skinned? Or, why not call him monkey-faced? Who asked Holian to have monkey-like eyebrows? Holian didn't know that he had been labeled as a thick-skinned and shameless person by Ning Fan. He kept telling Ning Fan about the drastic changes in Wei country. After knowing the situation of Wei country and understanding a little about Great Jin, Ning Fan couldn't help but frown. He wanted to come to Great Jin and borrow the teleportation formation to go to the Endless Sea. However, there was a demon tide in Great Jin and the demon soldiers were in chaos. Demon soldiers? It was very difficult for the demon race to unify unless there was a general. Since there were demon soldiers, there must be a general. Could that general be the crimson-scaled man, Li Ban? If that's the case, would there be a problem if he brought the flower demon into Great Jin? He must go to Great Jin. As for the flower demon, if he brought the flower demon with him, the demon general might know that he must not keep the flower demon. He would rather abandon the cauldron and kill it in Wei country for peace. While Ning Fan was hesitating, a dark demonic wind came from the clear sky and approached the 7 Apricot Voyage ship from the front. There were more than 10 demons. Among them, there were 4 gold core experts, and one of them was even a late gold core expert. Ho Lian's expression changed drastically. They are here. Could it be because of the All-Heaven Relic? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.